Hello, everybody. Welcome to the true finale. Sorry about the cliffhanger last time, but that's what happens when you don't know how long the chapter is going to be and can only make guesses based on the number of achievements you have left. It's not always accurate, but happy Sunday, and welcome to the true finale. This should be an interesting time. I don't care how long it takes. If I have to stay up all night to finish it, so be it. We're finishing Chapter 6, Tsumihoroboshi tonight. That's not the name. Tsumihoroboshi. That's the word. Hello, Proxima. Great to see you. Hope you're doing well. Welcome. Just in time. This should be very, very interesting. I have been thinking a lot about this game over the weekend, and I have some interesting theories. I've got maybe a potentially good one. It's probably pretty out there, but it's one that actually explains most of the stuff. And I feel like it actually could have a chance of happening. So let's boot it up, and then I'll kind of share my thought process. We'll see how much of it actually makes it into the YouTube VOD, though. Because I have a feeling it's going to be like 10 to 15 minutes of me just talking about it. But maybe that's what people like to join in for. Alright, so welcome back to Higurashi When They Cried Chapter 6, everybody. So, before we start, gonna be a bit of a side tangent, gonna be kind of a long thing, but I gotta talk about this. So, last time we got the reveal that Chapter 1 was different than what we thought. Instead of Keiichi's friends going crazy and trying to kill him, Keiichi was the only one who went crazy and hallucinated that his friends were trying to kill him. And things like them sending the needle in his lunch, it was actually them putting hot sauce in. Them apparently trying to stab him with a syringe of drugs in it at the end. Turns out it was just a marker. I was kind of critical and skeptical about that when it happened, because I distinctly remember there being some things that you couldn't really explain away. I kind of went back and watched some of my Chapter 1 videos, and I realized that it actually makes a lot more sense than I thought. I thought for sure there was a scene at the end where Rena and Mion specifically said, oh, we're going to inject you with the drugs that killed Tomotage. That's not what they said. They actually just said, you're going to have what happened to Tomotage happen to you. Now, assuming that they weren't trying to kill him, this basically meant, oh, we're going to draw on your shirt the way that we did to Tomotage at the Watanagashi Festival. And Keiichi interpreted that as them trying to kill him. So there is some merit to that. Also, the entire scene where Rena was chasing us with the hatchet through, like, the construction site, that was also very different than I remember. Nothing that she said was actually, like, aggressive at all. She was actually like, I want to help you. I don't want, like, I don't want you to be like Satoshi, where, like, he disappeared. I want you to stay. However, she did chase him with a hatchet, but she didn't actually attack him with the hatchet. She was holding it over her head, but that may have been something that he just hallucinated, I don't know. But at the very least, she never made any, like, swings at him with the hatchet. And it's possible that she actually wasn't acting weird. She was laughing evilly a lot during that. I don't know if that's a thing of, like, she was just laughing normally and he thought she was laughing creepily, or if she wasn't laughing at all. I'm not too sure. I guess we'll cover that in my theory, which is coming up shortly. But as it turns out, now that I have kind of gone back and watched it, I'm much more open and okay with that chapter reveal. And if they can find a way to answer my remaining questions, that will be a pretty cool twist. There are kind of a couple things from Chapter 1, though, that are still a bit up in the air. Number one, regardless of how he interpreted it, Rena openly admitted to stalking us in Chapter 1 and actively was trying to break into our house. That's not going to be explained away by a simple hallucination, I don't think. So maybe she was also a little crazy there, too. I don't know. I hope we get an explanation on that. Number two, the note at the end, where Keiichi, like, wrote the note being like, I'm about to die, here's kind of my story, put it behind his clock, and the note was torn up at the end of that. So that's interesting. And they also kind of have to explain again about Rena's evil laughs happening during that. I think those were the main... Oh, and the van. So the van did try to run over Keiichi. That could have just been a case of, oh, he thought they were trying to run him over, but either they lost control of the vehicle, or, like, they actually weren't going to hit him. He just was hallucinating that. I don't know. But yeah, yeah, my theory, I've been thinking about this a lot. Oh, hello, Shirley. Welcome. I've been Keiichi'd. You think Rena was definitely unwell and acted a bit wrongly in Chapter 1? And she got the issues from her mom? Yeah. That's possible. We know that regardless, Rena has some deep-seated issues that have not really been resolved. Okay. I want to talk about my theory, because I've been thinking about this a lot. As of this chapter, we've basically gotten confirmation that the thing that's causing people to go crazy is a drug, or like a disease of some kind. I know that's kind of just a theory, and maybe they're going to pull the rug out from under us, but it really seems like, based on what we've learned in this chapter, that's what's going on. With things like Rika outright confirming that there's like the drug that killed Tomatake, which was just a theory kind of in chapter 1. Along with the actual studies of like, oh yeah, there's a disease going around, and like Rena has it. So I've been thinking about this a lot, because if it's true that there's a drug or a disease that's causing people to go crazy, and I don't even want to call it that, going crazy, because that's like the easy way to explain it, but it's a bit more to it than that. There are two things that have bugged me about this, because I've been really trying to think about, like, what really is this disease? Because it's not just the craziness disease, because it looks really different in different people. Because, like, Tomatake apparently had the disease, at least at the end, and he was a completely normal guy until he clawed his throat out off screen. And even so, like, the people who go crazy from the disease are different. Like, the way Rena is going crazy in this chapter is different from the way that Shion is going crazy in her chapter, which is different from the way Satoko went crazy in chapter 3. And there are two things that are really weird. Number one is that the way Keiichi goes crazy in chapter 1 is very different from the way he goes crazy in chapter 3. And that seems weird, because if this is the same disease or the same drug, inhabiting the same person, it should have the same or pretty much exactly the same effect on him. It should have made him more paranoid, but it didn't. It just made him more protective and way more aggressive, which is very weird. Because he's the same guy, but it affected him two different ways in two different chapters. The other thing that has bugged me is that one thing that seems to be common across people who have this disease, they hear things that nobody else can. And not just I'm hearing people laugh crazily when maybe they're not. No. Like, one thing, like, Keiichi and Shion, Keiichi at the end of chapter 3 and Shion all throughout chapter 5, we're hearing an extra set of footsteps behind them. Which Shion's like, oh, it's Satoshi! And Keiichi was like, oh, it's Oyashiro-sama, like, when he's in, like, the loony bin at the end of chapter 3. Also, there were other, like, weird, like, Keiichi in chapter 1 was hearing someone apologizing over and over again. Rena's like, oh, I've heard that too. Like, that means we need to help you. And then, the weirdest thing of all. In chapter 2/chapter 5, when they're in the ritual storehouse, both Shion and Tomatake heard a thumping sound that nobody else could hear. And they both heard it at the same time. Now, we know that both of them went crazy with the disease or whatnot. But they both shared the same hallucination, which is weird. That is not how hallucinations generally work. Generally, if you're hallucinating because of a result of a drug, the drug's chemicals are reacting with your unique genetic makeup and chemicals to cause different hallucinations. So how is this possible? Well, there is a drug in the real world, I can't remember if it's DMT or not, where if a bunch of people take the drug at the same time, they actually experience the same hallucinations. There's not really an explanation as to how that works, and one of the big theories is that this is basically letting you tap into some kind of, like, spiritual realm. And I think that's what's at play here. I think that what's going on is that whatever this drug is, when you're exposed to it, and, like, it kind of influences your body, it, like, taps you into a spiritual realm where you're more susceptible to evil spirits like demons, which is where Oyashiro-sama comes into play. So I think when you're exposed to that, you're basically getting yourself exposed to demonic forces that can not necessarily take control of you, but can influence you. And they're able to, like, see what you are, like, who you are, all your thoughts, and they basically prey on your greatest vulnerabilities in order to try and bring destruction. And I think this is the only, like, evil spirits is the most reasonable explanation. Because this explains, in chapter 1, Keiichi was more paranoid than before because he was finding out from Tomatake about, like, the murders and the dam construction incident not from his friends. I think in the other chapters, his friends let him know about that. So he's like, oh, okay, he was more trusting of them. But he felt like they were keeping it a secret. So I think like, the demonic spirits, I'll just say Oyashiro-sama, like, basically knew that he was paranoid and that he didn't necessarily trust his friends, and kind of twisted that and basically made him more susceptible to distrusting his friends and hallucinating. I think Shion the demons were taking advantage of the trauma she had in her past of, like, losing her identity, being horribly mistreated by her family, and basically having nowhere to go, and kind of twisting that to get revenge on the people that hurt her. And, like, in Chapter 3, Keiichi was way more protective of Satoko because he learned about her past, so the demons were like, oh, we'll twist it so he's way more aggressive and willing to commit murder in the sake of protection. I think, again, it may seem far-fetched, but we have references to demons in here. So I think that could potentially be an issue. And this leads to, okay, well, what's causing the drug? I don't know how the drug is getting, how these people are getting exposed to the drug, but I do think Takano is behind everything. Because if I'm right about how that's how the drug works, that drug is the perfect combination of both of Takano's, like, things. She's a nurse, and she's obsessed with the occult. And she faked her own death. And she's, like, gladly she's obsessed with Hinamizawa's past and the concept of Oyashiro-sama and, like, human-demon hybrids. So I think, if this theory is correct, I think she's behind all of the murders for the last 5 years at Watanagashi. Because I think she's basically either, like, testing out different prototypes or variations of the drug, and that's causing people to go crazy on Watanagashi Festival. And the reason because why would these incidents only happen on this festival? It's because she's obsessed with the history of Hinamizawa and Oyashiro-sama, and she's the one who's doing this. That's what I think. So I think Takano is the one who's kind of administering this drug to people. I don't know how. And I think she is the one kind of responsible for all this. We'll see. I don't think we're going to hear any answers or confirmation of this in this chapter because we're kind of busy with the hostage situation. But that's what I've been mulling over, and I think that this does explain a lot of the open questions we have. It doesn't explain things like how Rika keeps getting, like, keeping her memories from the previous loops, how Keiichi was able to get his memories from the previous loop. Doesn't explain who the girl that Rika's talking to is, but she could also potentially be part of, like, the demonic forces, because Rika is able to interact with her, and apparently Satoko can't see her. I don't know how that fits in, but yeah, that's kind of where my mind's been going. We'll see if that's actually true or not, and we'll see how well I actually explain my theory. By the way, hello Liz and hello Filmua. Welcome to you both. If anything, this chapter has established that Ren is unstable and has extreme reactions to who she considers an enemy. True. I do remember Keiichi seeing some invisible girl. I don't remember him seeing a girl. I remember him hearing things. Like, he was hearing the person say, "I'm sorry," over and over again, which Rena apparently also heard. You're wondering if Rika's ghost is part of this random theory, but whatever the ghost is on the good side and maybe tries to help the others, but only the mentally unstable can hear her or him. I mean, I'm interested to see how that works. Also, I don't know for sure how much of the supernatural stuff this story is actually going to cover. I also don't know if they're going to go the route of, like, oh, just because they're a demon doesn't mean they're bad, which, like, that's not how real demons work. But I know that Japan culture is different than Western culture. So anyways, with that theory now covered, let's go. We need to continue because Rena is currently beating up Shion and torturing her. Rena kept hitting Mion, who had her hands tied behind her back. Rena wasn't using her fists, but instead the handle of her hatchet. Don't move or I'll kill you. I don't know why this is difficult to understand. Keiichi saw someone invisible and said that it was a girl and then trashed the shoe locker, or how it's called. I don't remember that. Was that in chapter 1 or chapter 3? Rena's gaze intimidated me. Her eyes were full of madness. I could feel Rena's emotions boiling over on the inside. If I opposed her, she would easily cut Mion's arm off. She didn't know. Rena hit Mion's face over and over. It wasn't just Mion's hands that were tied behind her. Her neck was also tied to a window frame with a bike lock, so there was no way that Mion could protect her face. I didn't know if her forehead was cut or if her nose was bleeding, but her face was covered in blood. Yeah, Mion cannot catch a break in any of these chapters. And she is probably, well, is she one of the more innocent characters? I mean, she's working for the Yakuza family, so there's some unsavory parts to her, but yeah, In chapter 1, he broke the shoe shelf by the entrance of the house. He did do that. Because I did see that in the scene towards the end where, like, I forgot for Rena and, like, Miona were like, what the heck happened to your shoe shelf? And he's like, I tripped and fell a baseball bat first on it. They're like, oh, classic Keiichi, before taking him upstairs. Chapter 1, he used the bat, thought someone was following him. Yeah. Chapter 1 is, man, regardless of how things turn out, like, this has been such a fascinating read. I can't really remember another story that has made me think about it more, like, and theorize in between, like, sessions. Like, this game is fascinating, and the mystery is so cool. And also, rewatch bonus, because going back through and rewatching part of Chapter 1 was really interesting. To be fair, I played Chapter 1 like 5 years ago, so that's part of it. Her blood got on the handle of the hatchet, and every time she got hit with it, more blood was smeared on her face. The handle of the hatchet could easily smash her forehead. Because of her position in the Sonozaki family, Mion couldn't say that she hid the bodies, so all she could do was endure. However, Rena continued to attack her. Rena no longer had any restraint. She might even continue until Mion's front teeth were broken. Hey, X-Dude, don't mind us. Rena's just currently beating up one of her friends to a bloody pulp.
Mion, もういいだろう。俺が話す。本当のことを話すから。レナ、ミオンを殴るのをやめるんだ。
I thought you already told me the truth, Keiichi. Did you lie to me? You know how I hate liars. You think I'd like Umineko if I plan another visual novel read in the future? I mean, that's an option. That's another long one, though, so that'll be a multi-year commitment, and I'm genuinely moving farther and farther away towards this kind of content. I kind of want to start another channel where I deal with more, like, biblical topics. We'll see if that gets off the ground, though.
ケイチ君
ダメだよケイちゃんクラスのみんな今から言う話は頼む
Please don't listen to me
少し物騒な話をするかもしれないが悪いことの話じゃないんだ
Okay
だから聞かないでくれ耳に入っても
What
忘
a
れてくれ
weird preface, Keiichi
頼む
どういう話だろう聞かせてくれるかな
難しい話じゃないんだあれはお前のためだったんだよあの埋めた場所が今年の夏に営林署が伐採で立ち入ることになってたのを後日にだからあのままじゃまずいと思ってミオンがもっと別の安全な場所に隠してくれたんだよ
その話はあの晩に聞いてるよ
Oh, her eyes kind of went back to human eyes instead of reptile eyes
そしてそんなのはみーちゃんの作った嘘だとも言わなかったっけ
なんで嘘なんかつかなきゃならないんだ仲間を助けるのは当然じゃない
Every
か
child in this classroom is going to need therapy after this
だからミオンがお前を助けるためにやってく
And
れ
this
た
is
んだ
coming
よ
from a guy that generally doesn't care for therapy
嘘だよ嘘だよ信じないよならなんでそんなことを私に相談せずにこっそりとやったの
Why did Mion even have to tell her? Mion was trying to be delicate. Mion did her best to trying to hide what Rena did. Mion knew Rena was at her wit's end, and that was why she did it in secret. But Rena didn't want to believe her.
違うよケイチ君ケイチ君まで騙すなんて本当にみーちゃんは卑劣だね
Hey, I think we should... Let's go back to console for a little bit.
部活で騙すのは許せるけど仲間であるケイチ君を騙すなんて許せない
Man, her eyes in the console art style here. With the eyebrows and like the bags. Terrifying.
許せない許せない許せない
やめろミオンを殴るなミオンは悪くない
I never knew having your hands tied behind your back was that scary. Mion got hit repeatedly with the handle of the hatchet. Keiichi, you had your hands tied behind your back in Chapter 1, and you somehow broke out and beat them both to death with a baseball bat. Mion should be able to do the same thing, right? Oh, wait, no, she has her neck bike locked to the window. Maybe not. If Hinamisawa doesn't blow up first. That's right, they're going to be blowing up from gas explosions pretty soon. In Chapter 1, Keiichi was paranoid about how Rena knew about his parents being gone and what he was supposed to have for dinner. This chapter kind of explained that. Did it? Rena told Keiichi this chapter she often meets with his mom at the supermarket and they talk about what they're having for dinner tonight. Yeah, but you also forget that when she's pointing out, like, yeah, you're having this for dinner, and he's like, how the heck do you know that? And she's like, because I was right behind you at the grocery store watching you the entire time. I distinctly remember her saying that, because I literally put that clip in my stream starting soon montage, because that was probably the creepiest moment from the game for me. Mio got repeatedly hit with the handle of the hatchet. She could only endure. She couldn't even protect herself with her hands.
ねえ、そうなのみー
Guys,
ちゃん。
Rena's about to get down with the hottest new dance move. This is called
そうならなんでそうだって私に話してく
the
れなかった
hatchet maker.
の？
ミオンに話せない理由は想像つくだろう。その先家のいろいろ都合があるんだよ。それより気を使ってくれたことをお前が感謝すべきじゃないか。
I may have said it too aggressively. Rena turned around and glared at me. Oh, hang on. Creepy Rena smile. We gotta go back to this one.
そうだよ、
This,
ケイチ君。
I think this is in the top 2 or 3 scariest sprites in the game. Rena's console lizard eye smile.
園崎家の都合でみーちゃんは私を警察に売った。仲間の私を売った。仲間なのに、友達なのに、仲良しだったのに。ひどいよみーちゃん。本当に大好きな一番のお友達だったのに。
Why does Mion get beat in every chapter?
ひどいよ。
This was senseless. Rena cried as if being bullied, but she was the only one doing the bullying. Normally, this would be so odd as to be impossible, but I had seen this scene before. I liked you. I trusted you. As I cried, I beat her to death. Rena repeatedly begged me to trust her, yet I beat her. I know what it's like to be the one doing the beating. Stop. Stop, stop, stop! Stop, Rena! Don't you realize what you're doing? You're hurting your friend with your own hands. I understand what you're feeling. I know you're sad because your friend betrayed you, right? But that's a misunderstanding. We didn't betray you. We've been thinking about you all this time. Yeah, Rena, we literally agreed to help cover your murder for you. Like, at that point, friends for life, right? But she just couldn't see that. Even if she died, Rena probably wouldn't realize she'd made a terrible mistake. But someday you'll realize. Even an insensitive guy like me realized, so Rena would realize it for sure. And that's when you'll feel even sadder, Rena. You will remember this bloody Mion one day. Then you'll realize that you were the one who made her bloody, and you will regret that you did. But I was the only one who could understand that, because I remembered. There was no way for Rena to understand or realize that. I wondered if I was suffering most of all. And there was no way to avoid a tragedy. This is why you feel so bad for Mion, because she had no choice in her life or her control of what family she was born in. And she wasn't even born Mion. I mean, look, yeah, Mion and Shion have a very messed up past, for sure. And they've got kind of a terrible family. The reason why I'm a little hard on Mion, there's a couple reasons. One is just Mion's personality. I don't even think her real personality. But I think the personality she's forced to put on because she has to pretend to be Mion all the time is basically one of my polar opposite personalities, and one that I just generally don't get along with. And the other reason is that, yes, she's in this, like, pretty terrible family situation, but she's literally just going about doing things the same way that her family does. Like, I haven't really seen any indication that she's like, I hate the way my family does things. I want to change it. She's like, oh yeah, well, you know, we got ties to some Yakuza members. Like, stuff like that. Like, okay. Or like, oh yeah, I threw bricks, but like a while ago. Yeah, it was just a thing I did. It's like, you don't think less of me for doing that, right? But yeah, she's one of the more sympathetic. Well, is she one of the more sympathetic characters? Because again, you can. She's certainly more sympathetic than Shion, but like Rika, I think, is more sympathetic. She's like lost both her parents. Satoko lost both her parents and was abused and lost her older brother. Well. Yeah, I guess. I feel like Keiichi's the only one who comes from, like, a normal family. This was exactly the same tragedy, with different actors. The main character was Rena instead of me, but it was the same thing. Where was I? I was in the audience now. I knew how this story ended, but I couldn't come onto the stage.
やめろレナ。やめてくれ。やめてくれ。
泣いてるの？どうしたの？
This is weird because she like clearly still cares for us. She's just been, again, I think it's demonic influence that's like amping up her aggression towards her perceived enemies and making her perceive everything as an enemy. I stood up slowly and walked towards Rena, just like what Rena did for me before, with my arms open.
頼むからやめてくれ。やめるんだレナ。今はどうしてかわからないかもしれない。
I don't think we need to rank sad past. Yeah, I know. We shouldn't be comparing other people's trauma. But some people do have more trauma than others.
なぜやめなければならないのかわからないのかもしれない。
What is Satoko doing in all this? Isn't she a trap expert or something? She also is tied up right now, so that's probably why.
でもやめないと絶対に後悔する日が来るから。だからやめるんだ。
圭一くん、壁に戻らないとレナは怒るよ。
Rena's eyes went cold, and she lifted the hatchet in her right hand.
やめな、ケイちゃん。私は大丈夫
Man,
だから。
Mion is very tough. I'll give her that. Mion told me, but with such a bloody face, how could she?
レナはその名で俺を叩くのか。
That's true, yeah. In Chapter 1, Keiichi was fluctuated between being aggressive, paranoid, and, like, hateful, and also, like, really sad. Like, why are my friends doing this? Why is it happening this way?
それ以上近づけばね、叩くよ。遠慮なくね。もう圭一くんなんかいなくても最後までいけるんだよ。でも私は圭一くんと最後まで一緒にいたい。だから私を怒らせないで。
She sounded gentle, but her expression was telling me there really would be no hesitation. Rena would crack my head open with the hatchet immediately. But who cares?
レナはもし立場が逆だったら命を惜しむと思うか。
当然だよ。
That's an interesting smile. I don't think we've ever seen that smile on Rena before. She's like, I'm pretty happy. Oh, oh, hi. Dang, that's a cool sprite.
相手が凶器を持ってたら怖いから逆らわないね。
嘘だな。
I know you're strong enough to give up your own life for the sake of your friend. It's my turn now. My turn to be strong.
俺もレナと同
Keiichi
じだ
has
ぜ。
got balls of steel.
仲間のためなら命なんて惜しくない。レナが欲しいってなら俺の命だってくれてやる。だからやめるんだ。仲間を信じてるなら仲間を傷つけるのをやめるんだ。その痛みは必ずレナを襲うから。だからやめるんだ。誰もレナを脅かしたりなんかしてない。みんながレナのためを思ってる。それを疑うな。頼むから信じてくれ。俺を信じろ。俺の頭を砕けば信じられるってんならそのナタを撃ち下ろせばいい。俺は防がねえからな。
All the kids are watching us just like, really? Keiichi just has to give another corny speech even before his death.
近寄るな。
That expression changed though.
それ以上近づけばライターを点火するよ。
Rena lifted the lighter overhead. Also, another thing that I pieced together. They never actually said this, where they're like, where did Rena get the lighter? She got it from Teppei. Because Teppei, when he died, she's like, oh no, the light went out. He's like, oh, that's okay, I got a lighter. And then she killed him. So she presumably just took his lighter. And that's the one she's using. Dang it, even when Teppei's dead, he's still causing problems. Keiichi's development is definitely something. When his resolve is strong enough, he definitely has balls to defy against it all, no matter what's happening in front of him. True, that's why he's the protagonist.
バカ野郎！てめえ、いつまで夢を見てんだ。自分でも分かってんだろ。悪い夢だって。誰かに覚ましてほしいって。だから俺が来た。俺が覚ましに来たんだ。
覚ますのは圭一くんの方だよ。この村が奴らに侵略されていることがまだ信じられないの？あの時はちゃんと信じてくれたのにまた疑うの？ また私を信じないの？
Rena opened the lid of the lighter. I could tell her phone was about to light it. Rena was prepared to die along with everyone else. Rena would die without knowing the truth. She would die believing it was the world that was crazy. She would die cursing everything in this world. That was the storyline of this tragedy, wasn't it? It was a theater from hell. What an interesting script. Who wrote it? A devil? I actually think it is. Oh, and speaking of which, I mentioned earlier that I think Takano's behind all this. Technically, I think that Takano, at some point, probably with her, like, I don't know, experimentation or experience with, like, the demon drug or whatever, probably came into contact with, like, Oyashiro-sama or a demon like that, and is probably just doing their bidding. That's again, part of my theory. Shit. I won't let this happen. Don't underestimate Keiichi Maebara, the original main character. Don't think the same storyline will work again. Okay, no breaking the fourth wall in the halls. I'll be taking over the script this time, and I am going to destroy it. I won't let this bad ending take place. I am going to destroy their expectations. Keiichi, we turned off the choices in this game.
信じてねえのはレナの方だろうが。今は俺を信じろ。黙って俺を信じやがれ。それは絶対にレナのためになる。前回の惨劇の主人公がそうだと言ってるんだよ。先代主人公の言うことをおとなしく聞き。
何を言ってるのかさっぱりだよ、
What
ケ
are
イチ
you?
君。
The heck are you doing?
黙って俺を信じろ。信じてないのはケイチ君
No,
の方だ
they're
よ。
just going, no, you, over and over again until 7 o'clock. And then the gas explosion happens.
どうして私を信じてくれないの？
やかましい。
I'm
俺は
talking,
お前
so
が間違
shut
ってるこ
up!
とを知ってるんだよ。お前の末路を知っていて、お前がする未来の後悔を全部知ってるんだよ。仲間を自らの手で殺し、それがどれほど罪深いことかに気づきもせずに生を終える。それがどんなに悲しいことか。
全然何を言ってるのかわからない。大丈夫なの、ケイチ君？
ああ、そうだな。何を言ってるかレナにはわからないだろうな。でも話してやる。ある大バカ野郎の話を聞
We
か
play
せて
through
や
all
る。
of chapter 1 again.
あるところに前原圭一っていう大バカがいたんだ。そいつはみんなと楽しく過ごす気に何の不満もなかったのに、ある日を境にほんの少し仲間を疑っちまうんだ。そして何もかもが疑わしく感じるようになってきて。
He didn't notice how worried his friends were, and he hurt them repeatedly. How sorrowful. No, you. That's method will work. Trust me, lol. Keiichi Maebara. Pretty much. I get it, though. Like, it's annoying when you're trying to say something important and people keep talking over you. You're just like, will you shut up and let me finish? And then you're seen as rude for telling them to shut up, even though they were the rude ones for interrupting you. They trusted each other, but they couldn't let each other know. Can you believe something as stupid as that actually happened?
そして俺はお前とミオンを金属バットで殴り殺しちまうんだ。なのにお前は最後の瞬間まで私を信じてって言って俺に殴り殺される最後の瞬間まで頭をかばわなかった。かばおうとしなかった。最後まで俺を信じて両手を差し出したままだったんだ。それがどれだけすげえことか俺は気づきもせず
All
お前を殴り殺してしま
of
った
the
んだ
kids
よ。
and Mion are like, what is he talking about?
それがどれだけ
They
罪
have
深
to
い
be
ことか
thinking like, what kind of a
お前
play
には
is this?
想像なんかつかないだろうな。だから俺は俺の罪を滅ぼすためにレナを止めるんだ。
それ以上近寄ると
She's like,
本当に
okay,
やだ
that was weird. Anyways, I'm going to blow the place up.
レナが命を懸けて俺を救おうとしてくれたように今度は俺がレナを救う。俺はレナがどんなに立派な最後を遂げたか今でも覚えてるぜ。あの瞳には自分が殺されるかもしれないなんて怯えはわずかもなかった。
These words will reach him, she thought. These next words will make Keiichi-kun realize.
俺を信じろレナ。
That was when Rena hit my head with the hatchet. I crumbled down to the floor. She hit me with the handle, but my head was probably cut open. He's like, yeah, I deserved that. I felt the blood on my face.
かわいそうなケイチ
Oh
君。
no. Creepy Rena's back, everybody.
それはケイチ君の意思じゃな
The
い。
detectives are just listening to the drama with popcorn. I thought that he turned off the bug. Or no, he doesn't know he needs to turn off the bug.
ケイチ君の頭に寄生している奴らがコントロールしているだけなの。今に大石さんが治療する薬を見つけてきてくれ
Oh,
るよ。
also, I forgot to mention. Part of my demon theory is that the demons, I think, are generally trying to, like, prey on your weak points and make you do horrible things. But if you don't have any weak points, then they just try to kill you. So my reason is that the reason that Toмотake just died immediately without going crazy is because he didn't have any weak points. He's just a very strong, confident guy who couldn't be convinced to do anything horrible. So they're just like, well, just kill him then. I think you'll like that theory, Shirley.
そうなったら一番最初に飲ませて治療してあげるからね。そうしたらもうケイチ君は奴らの支配から逃れられる。レナの大好きだったケイチ君に戻れるんだ
She
よ。
admitted it.
だからもう少し待っててね。辛いだろうけど待っててね。
このバカ野郎が
You can't deny that Keiichi's speeches can be corny and long-winded, but they still hit. Not gonna lie. I mean, I see what they're trying to do here. I think the voice actor is simultaneously the best and worst part of it. Because, like, he's putting 110% into this, and it's insane how, like, massive his range is and how much heart he's putting into this. But it's, like, the perfect level of, like, oh my gosh, this is, like, so passionate that it hits. But also, I'm like, this guy is just hamming it up so much, I can't take it seriously. It's not a diss on the voice actor, by the way. He did an amazing job. It's not you, it's me. I heard a phone ringing in the teacher's office. Oh, Rena, I think somebody's trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. Rena listened to the phone ring for a while, then realized it was for her. Rena tried to answer the phone in the classroom, but she couldn't figure out how to transfer the call, so she decided to answer it in the teacher's office instead.
ちょっと職員室に行ってくるね。その間に誰も逃げちゃ嫌だよ。誰か一人でもいなくなってたらみーちゃんが大変なことになっちゃうんだからね。
Also, they're all tied up with bike locks. It takes a while to untie them, so, alright. Rena glared at everyone in the classroom, intimidating them, and then left. That was when I heard a honk from the outside. I remembered the signal from earlier. Did Uisi-san want to get in touch with me? I bent down to put the receiver earphone in my ear.
聞こえますか？沖宮署の熊谷と申します。聞こえているなら咳払いをしてください。よかった。今から言うことをよく聞いてください。犯人が撒いたガソリンは極めて
Yeah! No shit!
今教室内には気化したガソリンが充満して巨大な爆弾と同じこ
Oh
とに
yeah,
な
they
って
have to
い
tell
ます。
Keiichi about the plot point.
ですから竜宮さんを刺激しないようにし、間違ってもライターをいじらせないでください。さっきのような挑発行為は二度と慎むようお願いします。
Tomotake's only fault is thinking he can fix Takano. Okay, that's true. I don't know how the demons would take advantage. Oh no, the demons did take advantage of that. He tried to fix Takano and then she killed him. Well, there you go. All the voice actors in this game are amazing. That's true. Especially whoever plays Mion/Shion in Chapter 5. I don't know how she did that, but like, wow. Blew me away. I've been saying Keiichi could be an amazing politician if he tries.
チェ、盗聴器って嫌なもんだぜ。
気化ガソリンはわずかの火花でも着火する可能性があります。ですのでこの連絡を最後に盗聴器の電源を切ってください。これは万が一に備えてのことです。それから最後に犯人は次元発火装置を仕掛けていると予告しています。
次元？なんだって？
キッチンタイマーを流用した次元発火装置で火花を起こすだけの単純なものですが、現在竜宮レナの要求する解毒剤と偽れる睡眠薬を準備中です。ですが残された時間が長くありません。予告ではタイマーの設定は午後
Oh,
7
did
時。
I say 7 p.m.? I meant 6 p.m. I looked at the wall clock. It was 6:45 p.m. There were only 15 minutes left. That's what I thought last time. 2 hours passed and we were still in the same scene. I could hear Rena screaming into the phone.
いいえ、時間通りです。急いでくださいね、大石さん。1秒たりとも遅れることは許しません。
聞こえてると思いますが、リュウグウレナはタイマーの設定延長には応じないようです。あと15分で本気で心中するつもりです。
I remembered thinking the same way as Rena. After I killed Rena and Mio and I knew the police would come. I thought someone would solve the mystery after I was dead. If that's what Rena was thinking, then she had been planning to kill herself from the beginning.
それで俺にどうしろと？
睡眠薬がもうじき届きます。だが交渉中に爆発したら元も子もありません。あなたに次元発火装置を見つけ出して解
Yeah,
除していただ
no
きたいので
problem.
す。
よく映画で見るような赤と青のコー
No,
ドを
didn't you
切
just
断す
hear
る
me
やつ
say
で
that a
す
spark could blow it up?
もっと簡単なものでしょう。犯人の予告によるならば、それは台所用のキッチンタイマーです。電池でなくコンセントに挿して動くタイプの目覚まし時計状のものと思われます。
Let me ask us, do you think Keiichi has the power to pull off the miracle of uniting the left and the right? No.
教室内のコンセントに何か
You
刺さってません
probably
か？
don't want to hear my actual opinions on that. I'll just say that. There was one outlet in the back and another at the front of the classroom. I checked, but I didn't see anything that was plugged in.
いや、教室内のコンセントには何も。
よその場所で発火しても確実性
If
は低いでしょ
Keiichi
う。
actually made like a deeply impassioned speech about unity today, he would just be called cringe on social media.
間違いなく教室
That's
内に
what
ある
would
はず
really
です
happen.。
いや、多分ないぜ。廊下からコードが引かれてるのはレナが話してる電話だけだ。
Okay, I get why they were playing this music. It was during his like passioned, like, I believe in you speech. But I feel like they should be playing a creepier or a more urgent song right about now.
そのキッチンタイマーが電池式ってことはないのか？
電源を供給するタイプですので、コード型に違いありません。あるいは他の部屋というこ
It's
とはあ
like
りません
Christopher
か？
Robin said, we have to believe in ourselves.
その教室以外にもガソリンの充満した部屋があるとしたら、そちらの部屋に仕掛けられている可能性があります。
学校中を調べろってことかよ。あと15分でか？くそ。
I just got hit in the
俺は復讐中なんだぜ。
forehead. But if I stayed here, I'd die in 15 minutes. This wasn't a time to be pessimistic. This was probably my last chance to stop this tragedy from taking place. She spread the gasoline when I went out to deliver the scrapbooks, so she must have done it in a fairly short time. I really didn't think she had enough time to spread it anywhere else other than the classroom. Then where was the time bomb?
こちらも努力しています。ですから、そちらでもご協
She
力をお願
shoved
い
it
し
in
ます。
Mion's mouth.
以上です。質問がなければこれで更新を終了しますが、何か
Connection
ありますか？
terminated.
特にない。あ、いや、一つある。
何でしょう？
大石の親父に言っといてくれ。よくも人の古傷をレナに話しやがったなって。もし俺が生きてここを出られたらぶん殴ってやるから覚悟しやがれって伝えといてくれ。ああ、2発殴るぜ。俺のことをレナに喋った分と
Ooh.
レナのことを俺に
Yeah,
喋った分
he's
だ。
spreading the gossip, and that never worked out well.
了解。大石さんもリュウグウレナに踊らされたと大
Yeah,
変喜んでます。
way to go, Kuma guy. One of the best guys in the story.
きっと殴らせてくれますよ。以上でよろしいですか？
ああ、このおしゃべりだけで数分食っちまった。切るぜ。
ご無事を。
Okay. Rena was still on the phone. Uisi-san was definitely trying to stall her. From what I could hear, it sounded like he's telling her that they investigated the main Sonozaki residence and found something awful in their secret basement or something like that. Hey, if he went too far, Rena would believe everything again. Mion was going to get hit again for lying. Oh no, I'm sorry, girls. I'm gonna try my best. Don't look so sad. Rika's sad face makes me sad. Dude, hey, what are you doing? I'm still sad. Now, okay, this one they don't even look sad. They just look disappointed. This is the face Rika and Satoko would make if we, like, told a dirty joke. And they're just like, bruh, that's not politically correct. You can't do that. Rika-chan and Satoko crawled up to me.
今の俺の無線聞いてたか？
トラップは私の先輩特許でしたよ。
レナさんにお株を奪われるなんて、こんなの死んでも死にきれませんわ。
Satoko realized how serious the situation was as well. The lives of the hostages, including her own, were about to be taken. Yet she tried to remain strong.
サトコ、もし死んでもレナを恨まないでくれ。レナは病気なんだ。
His voice was too peaceful for creepy music. Then maybe like intense music, maybe not creepy.
運悪く悲しい病気にかかっただけなんだ。だってそうだろう。俺たちはあんなにも明るくて楽しい仲間だったレナをよく覚えてる。
サトコ、僕はレナもみんなも素敵な仲間だと信じていますのです。
Dad, what did I do this chapter? Why wouldn't you believe I'm your friend?
あんなミオンさんにあんな乱暴する人を仲間なんて認められます
Of course the main cast would not be pro-politically correct. And you know what? I appreciate that.
サトコだってわかるはずなのです。心の中の鬼が暴れ出してどんなに悲しくても抗えない時
Rika
があるの
also
を
seems
知っているはず
Rika
なの
also
です。
seems to be indicating the potential demon theory. Okay. Oh, I hate that sprite. Satoko quietly hung her head. I didn't understand what Rika-chan was trying to say to Satoko, but maybe.
レナさんを信じてますわ。
偉いぞ、サトコ。
I hugged Satoko's head. Rika-chan's arms were tired, so she couldn't embrace Satoko, but she put her forehead closer to her in praise.
さて、世界最高のトラップ名人に聞くぜ。この部屋を爆破するにはどこに時限発火装置を仕掛ける？
お任せなさいませ。その装置はコンセントに
It's
繋がってなければい
it's
け
gonna
ま
be
せん
behind
ね
the。clock.
ああ、そうだ。
Just like how
でもこの
Cage
部屋と
did.
は限らないぞ。
Just like the simulations.
他の部屋にもガソリンが撒いてあって、そこに仕掛けてある可能性もある。
いいえ、そんな時間はなかったと思いま
Cage
す
would be a
で
great
す。
politician, but he would definitely need somebody else to monitor his social media feed. So otherwise he'd just be like taking selfies at Hooters with like the weird costumes, and people would be actually that's pretty harmless considering what a lot of nowadays politics are like.
多分レナは教室のすぐ近くに隠してあったガソリンを持ってきてこの部屋に巻くくらいだったのですよ。
そういやレナは昨べ俺と別れる時、明日の準備があるって言ってた気がするぜ。ってことは何かの仕掛けを昨べのうちにしてあった可能性もあるな。
それだけのヒントで私はここに芋虫状態。なかなかに意地悪な難易度の爆弾探しゲームでございますわね。
サトコなら見つけられる。
Do I think Hollywood could do justice to this work making a Higurashi adaptation? I have absolutely zero faith that Hollywood can do anything good these days. They're just churning out junk.
サトコに見つけられないなら俺にも無理だろうな。
Also, Hollywood would be alright. Higurashi When They Cry. It's 8 main visual novel chapters, so we're gonna stretch it out to be 52 movies.
だから俺はサトコを信じて全部をかけるぜ。
サトコならで
Also,
き
we're
ま
race
す。
swapping the cast.
レナを救うためにも見つけ出してほしいのです。仕方ありませんわね。本気の私の前にはレナさんのトラップなんて問題に
Satoko's
も
like,
なら
I'll
ない
make
こと
my
を
own
証明
time
して差し上
bomb.
げてみ
No,
せましたよ。
Satoko.
さあもう一度聞くぜ。この部屋を爆発させるなら次元発火装置をどこに仕掛ける？
Satoko grinned and then closed her eyes to concentrate. I gotta think about it. Now you give me a to be continued. How is it possible that Satoko's the most normal person in the club? How is that possible? No tips? I could have used some tips here,
何ですかあ
Fox.
んたたちは。
What's going on?
ど
Who
き
the
た
heck
ま
is
え。
Utaka?
ここの責任者は誰だね。
Several cars had arrived, producing several men. They weren't from the Yokinomiya station. One of the men was wearing a suit despite the hot weather. He approached me, pushing Kumagai aside. Is it my man? Kasai?
おや、これはこれは。お久しぶりですね。県警本部の
No, it's
大高
Utaka,
君じゃありませんか。
言葉を慎みたまえ。もう君に君と呼ばれる階級ではない。
何かご用ですかね大高君。今非常に
You
立
could
て
just
込んでい
hear
ま
the
す。
resentment in that coon.
まさか県警がこの現場を乗っ取ろうつもりで誰の了解で
私が許
Oh
可した
no!
大石君。
Damon Gantz is here.
所長。
高杉君から事情は聞いている。君がまいた種だという話も聞いているぞ。君はもう下がって、あとは機動隊に任せるんだ。
Yeah, Filmua. That's exactly what would happen. That's exactly what would happen.
機動隊って。大高君、あんたまさか吸収する気ですか？
危険は重々承知だ。だがもう爆発まで時間がない。君が時間を浪費しすぎたのだ。その尻拭
Here's
いを
what you do.
我々が
Here's
しよう
what
とい
you
うの
do.
だ。
You flood the room with knockout gas from a secret place outside where she can't see. It knocks them all out. You rush in, evacuate immediately. School blows up, but what can you do? Maybe that's a bad idea to not mix toxic, like, knockout gas with gasoline, but actually, I feel like gasoline itself could be a knockout gas.
君らは引き継いで後方に
I
下が
wouldn't
りたま
talk
え。
back if both the chief and a guy from the prefectural headquarters gave me an order. Who is this narrator?
おいさん、何者っすかあいつは。
大高君。昔麻雀がくっそ弱いくせに生きがってたからちょいと叩き潰してやったことがありましてね。
Oh! Was Utaka one of the Mahjong players?
それともあれかな、剣道大会で偉そうにしてやがったから面食らわして失神させたのを根
Because
に持って
there
る
were
のか
four
な。
people playing Mahjong in Chapter 4. There was Uesi, there was Akasaka, there was the damn construction foreman who's now dead. Was Utaka the other one? Maybe. Obviously, we didn't get along.
大石君、現在の最新の状況を説明したまえ。
あんた本気で
This
突
is a
入する
very
気で
bad idea.
こっちはもうすぐ睡眠薬で穏便に決着がつけられそうなんだ。それをひっくり返す機会。
もう遅すぎる。あと1時間あったらその手も検討できたな。突入は府警の専門部隊が担当する。君はバックアップに回りたまえ。
所長、あんた分かってますよね。あの教室は今や巨大な爆弾なんです。だが一番恐ろしい爆弾は教室じゃない。犯人のリュウグウレナ本人なんです。我々はようやくそれをなだめ、穏便に解決する手順を踏み、それを実行しようとしています。時間は確かにもう10分もない。でも必ず成功させてみせます。講習は私が自らやります。ダメなら私が粉々に吹っ飛んでおしまいです。所長たちは離れてそれを見てざまみる
I
と
gotta
思ってればい
respect
い。
Uesi. Even if I don't agree with him on everything, he seems like a genuinely good guy who wants to do the right thing.
大石君、府警の専門部隊はただの機動隊じゃないぞ。
Oh God, you're right. If there was a Hollywood or Netflix adaptation, they would just make Shion like a misunderstood tragic hero. Oh no. And that's because Hollywood for some reason just absolutely hates the idea of there being just like evil characters. I know Shion had like a tragic past and all that, but she was just flat out evil in Chapter 5. And there's nothing wrong with that. We like evil characters. We don't need... I like morally complex characters as well, but sometimes I just like having there be like a, this character's good, this character's evil. Why can't we have that? Why is that such a bad thing?
第二機動隊といえば、君ほどの男なら
Oh,
噂
you
くらい聞
forgot
いてる
if
だろう。
in the Netflix adaptation there would also be a self-insert from one of the new writers for sure.
なんすか大石さん、第二機動隊って有名なんですか？
5年くらい前だっけ、空港の飛行機に犯人が立てこもった事件があっ
Are
たでし
you
ょ。
talking about 9/11? No, this happened way before 9/11.
あれをきっかけに東京と大阪にハイジャック専門の
So
特殊
much
部隊が
Shion
組織された
slander?
って噂は聞いてました
She
がね。
crucified a 12-year-old abuse victim. I don't need to say anything else.
実在してましたか。
でも、なんだって府警の機動隊がこんなところに。
Utaka smiled proudly.
たまたま県警機動隊との交流訓練があってね、
Really?
特別に応援を要請したのだよ。
相変わらずですね。話をすぐ派手にしたがるその癖は。
The company members exited the vehicles one after another and took position. They didn't move like policemen.
大高君、あんた 学校で銃撃戦をやる機会一発で
Yeah, I know.
安心
Don't worry,
した
that's
ま
what
え
we want.
突入班が使うのは火器じゃないボート鎮圧用の
Yeah,
ガ
that'll
ス銃
protect you from explosions.
高圧ガスで催涙ガスを
Oh,
放
they're
出
kind of going to the knockout gas strategy.
何の問題もない
へえ
Oh my
そりゃ
gosh,
便利な
it's a
水鉄
throwback
砲
to the
があった
water
もん
gun
で
fight at the start.
ところでそのおもちゃは校庭を横断して
you
教室
know
まで
it.
届くほど便利なもの
Super
なんで
soaker.
それは君が心配することではないあとは我々に任せて下がり
As I lifted my arms exaggeratedly, one elbow accidentally touched the car horn, which honked. Of course, I did it on purpose.
今のは前原圭一を呼び出すサインですか？
ねえそうです前原君が気づいてくれるのに祈るしかない
今さら彼に何を？
連中は多分グレネードか何かでガラスをぶち抜いてガス弾を教室に撃ち込んでその隙に突入しようってつもりでしょう連中はリュウグウレナを甘く見てる彼女は本気だガラスの割れる音でもライターをためらわず点火する
特殊部隊には制圧できない
They're
って
gonna
こ
be
と
a KG. Can you break windows and go into like a berserk rage?
できないに決まってるだろうだから今まで慎重にリュウグウレナは初めから死ぬつもりなんだよ命が惜しくない奴に突入なんて意味がないんだよ前原さんしかいない
おいさん繋がりました。
もしもし
Moshi
大
moshi.
石です聞こえてたら咳払いお願いします緊急の話があります
Break a window now.
どうせ悪い話だろ。
悔しいですが県警が介入してきてお膳立てをひっくり返すつもりです特殊部隊が校舎に突入しようとしています
おいおい、護身用スプレーで拾
Well,
わせ
that's
ても
right. Kichi does have
そ
the
の
pepper
1秒で
spray.
点火されちまうってんで俺はずっと抑えてきたんだぜ突入なんてそんなの無理に決まってるだろ
Yes, Fulmua. Shion is a sympathetic character who has a tragic backstory. That does not even remotely excuse the horrible things she did in Chapter 5. If her experience in Chapter 5 was basically like killing her grandma by like with the zap gun and maybe like being like, all right, sister, I'm Mion now. That would be one thing. Or if she was like killing people with like a gun or something, fine. She was literally torturing people to death and enjoying it. Even people who weren't even like doing anything wrong. That's where it's like, yeah, I see why you're doing this. I can sympathize with you. You're still evil.
県警はリュウグウさんがすでに死ぬ気であることを理解していませんライターは脅しで点火するわけないと高をくく
The
っています
writer Ryukushi, even at the end of the chapter, was like, if you 100% agreed and sympathized with Shion, then please allow me to call both of you insane killers.
多分5分以内に突入するでしょう突入する前に
What?
なんとかリュウグウ
And
レナか
how
らライターを
exactly am
奪
I
ってくだ
supposed
さ
to
い
do that?
それは次元破壊装置を何とかしろというオーダーに追加で
ねえそうです
I
マジ
poor
かよ
Keiichi, man.
あ
The
と
whole world
5
is
分
on
でレ
his
ナからラ
shoulders
イター
now.
を奪って次元破壊装置もどう
Rena's
に
like,
か
you want to do what now?
やって
She's
くれ
not
るぜ
still in the office. She surely must be in the room. Keiichi, what are you doing on that headset?
あなただけが頼りなんです頼みます
どうですか
Man, she's
さ
taking
と
a
こ
long time to walk back here.
思いつきますですか1階の廊下だけが知りたいんですのそこにあるかないかレナさんの行動パターンから考えて1階ならあそこ2階ならあそこ
1階の廊下をコードが横断してないかざっと見ればいい
Does
んだな
anybody know where the breaker box is? I guess, hang on. Well, no, that wouldn't be a good story. If we just turned off the power completely, Rena would know and she would just light the lighter.
多分あるはず普段のレナさんなら断言できますけど今のレナさんはノイズだらけで行動パターンが読み切れませんわ
よし任せろもう悩むにも時間が足りねえよ最後の2択は俺が直接探る
I don't want another tragedy. You demons down in hell. I bet you're just waiting for an amusing ending to unfold while eating some popcorn. I actually legit think that's what they're doing. I won't let that happen. I'm going to change everything. And I'm going to make you pick up your popcorn off the floor. I spoke to Rena as she continued on about her story about the aliens.
何？どうしたのケイチ君？
いや、今音が聞こえなかったか？
She's like, no. Rena went quiet and looked around. Rena had become totally paranoid about everything. Once she became worried, she couldn't ignore it.
本当に？ケイチ君。
ああ、聞き間違いじゃない。
I knew she'd want to check it herself, but she really couldn't leave the room for something like that. So in that case, she'd have to ask me to check for her. Rena must have been thinking the same thing.
ケイチ君、見てきて。
Rena gave me an order with a fake smile on her lips.
ああ、わかった。
Rena watched me go into the hallway. As I did, she spoke to me.
レナを怒らせちゃ嫌だよ。
信用しろ。俺はレナの仲間だ。
うん。信じるよ。信じるから。
You
裏
turned
切
her
っちゃ
against
嫌だ
me.
からね。
After being freed from Rena, I looked for a cord in a hurry. I didn't even have 5 minutes. The office probably had more outlets than anywhere else. I headed for the teacher's office. Shit, where were the outlets? Here's the thing. Rena knows it's going to go off at 7, so when it doesn't go off at 7, she's probably just going to light the lighter immediately anyways. I guess that's why he has to take the lighter from her. Unlike light switches, outlets couldn't always be found near entrances. Damn it, why did the clock in the teacher's office have to make such a loud ticking noise?
大丈夫なのですよ。
It's going to be behind the
ケイ
clock.
チならきっと
The
見つけ
same
てくれ
place
ま
where he
すの
put
で
the
す。
note and the needle that didn't actually exist.
レナさんなら、レナさんなら。いつものレナさんより疑り深いレナさんなら、どこにどう仕掛けますの？この程度がわからなくて、レナさんのトラップで最後なんて、北条聡子一生の恥ですわ。
How is this the second visual novel that I've played where there's the risk of a bomb going off in the school?
なんだこれ。
If I had a nickel for every time there was a bomb that was going to blow up the whole school in the visual novel I was playing, I'd have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it happened 3 times. I saw a plug inserted into the unit under the principal's desk, and I also saw a cord extending under the door to the reception room. There shouldn't have been any reason why a cord had to be extended into that room. The reception room had an outlet of its own. I tiptoed over to the reception room and opened the door. Squeak! The door squeaked as I cracked it open a little. I poked my head inside the reception room. I saw the suspicious cord crossing the room and extending under the door to the hallway. I followed the cord through the reception room. I opened the door to the hallway, and the cord is extending into the storage closet. The storage closet was used to hold cleaning chemicals. I could smell them from here. The cord is extending into there. I carefully opened the door and turned the light on. The cord is attached to another extension cord, and there was an alarm clock that didn't belong in there.
見つけた。
The time bomb. So all I'd have to do was unplug the cord. I picked up the alarm clock. It looked like a normal alarm clock. Actually, it was a normal alarm clock. I remembered Kumagai-san calling it a kitchen timer. He said it was a bit like an alarm clock. But this wasn't a bit like an alarm clock, it was an alarm clock. Wait, didn't alarm clocks use batteries? This alarm clock was a battery-operated one, too. I looked at the extension cord, and there was nothing plugged into it. Eh? What was this extension cord for? Why was this extending all the way from the teacher's office?
いけないケイチさん、逃げて
サトコ。
それは違うんですの。騙された。
A black shadow was covering me. I felt my body freeze. It was so frozen that I felt like it was about to crack. I turned around slowly and saw someone holding a hatchet above their head. Sorry, Rena. I heard a sound coming from the bathroom, and I kind of lost my way. You know how it is. Anyways, are you really sure it's wise to be leaving the class like that? They could escape while you're with me. I dropped the alarm clock. It made a noise as it hit the ground.
どうしてケイチ君は延長コードをたどって目覚まし時計なんか持ってるのかな？
All the cells in my body were frozen. This was Rena's trap. Rena was suspicious of everyone, including me. This whole time, she thought there was someone connected to the people outside. This was a trap to lure that person out. Only the people outside knew about the time bomb. I was told about the whole thing, and so I followed the extension cord and picked up the alarm clock. How stupid of me.
待て、レナ。
ケイチ君のこと信じてたのに。ひ ひどいよ、ケイチ君。
Rena hit me with the backside of the hatchet earlier. It was painful, but it didn't kill me. But this time she was holding the hatchet the right way. It wouldn't just crack my forehead. It would split my entire head open. Rena lifted the hatchet mercilessly. She moved slowly as if everything was in slow motion. She looked almost divine. Maybe it really was holy. I was praying, after all. Praying? What was I praying for? I was praying for my life. Rika to the rescue! It was so sudden, I couldn't tell what happened. Woo! Triumphant music! Rika-chan had jumped onto Rena from behind. I didn't know what kind of weapon Rika-chan used, but Rena started moaning. It clearly hurt. That brought me back to reality. Is it the syringe that she still had? I couldn't just watch them. I had to get the lighter from Rena. Let's go, Rika! This is why you're my favorite character! Rena knew I was after the lighter. She closed her fingers around it tightly. Rika-chan was grabbing onto the arm Rena was holding the hatchet in. I wanted to tell her to run, but thanks to Rika-chan, I could use both of my hands to get at the lighter. The lighter flew out of Rena's hand. It hit the hallway wall and dropped down to the floor. I picked it up. At the same moment I did, Rena managed to shake off Rika-chan. There's our chance. I turned into Satoko's direction. I heard Satoko screaming from the classroom. Satoko had figured out where Rena hid the time bomb. I wanted to catch Rena, but I didn't have time for that. I had to do something about the time bomb instead. Rika-chan had spread her arms, blocking Rena's path forward.
バカなことはやめて逃げろ。
ケイチ、これは初めてではないのですよ。覚えていないのですか？
え？
前の時、僕にあとわずかの頑張りがあれば、ケイチは今度こそ間に合わせる。だから言ってなのです。
I didn't know what Rika-chan was talking about. But there was one thing I did know. Just like Rena and Mion were ready to give up their lives for their friends, and I was willing to give up mine, Rika-chan was prepared to do that too. Therefore, telling Rika-chan to run was like telling her she wasn't my friend. And so I will depend on my friend, Rika-chan.
すまん、リカちゃん。
ケイチさん、もう時間が。
Leaving it up to Rika, I dashed for the classroom. Rika's played this chapter before. I feel like if Rika's played this chapter before, she should have done a lot more to prevent stuff. Like, here's the thing. Like, you would think, if Rika knew that Rena was going to do this, couldn't she have done something to warn people, be like, hey, Rena's going to, like, Rika could have called in a bomb threat or something to the school, or, like, done something to evacuate the school before Rena got there, couldn't she? As soon as Rika heard Keiichi's footsteps reach the classroom door, she sighed in relief. As she did, Rena's black shadow came even closer.
すごいよ、すごいよ。これは部活じゃないんだよ。リカちゃんは殺されちゃうよ。怒ったレナにきっと殺されちゃう。へえ、私が怖くないんだ。リカちゃんすごいよ。
Rika grabbed a mop as she ran from the storage closet. She picked it up and held it upside down like a spear. What? Rika's stance told Rena that she was ready to fight. Rika didn't look like a little girl anymore. She looked so brave. That Rena was even startled by it.
すごいね。殺されるのが怖くないんだ。
Rika smiled cynically. Rika usually never smiled this way.
この私が死を恐れるとでも。
Yeah, that deep voice though. What? Do you think I'd be... Tell me, Jack Sparrow. Do you fear death?
幾百の死の山脈を越えてきたこの私が
Several
今更何を恐れる
hundred?
というの
Jeez
か。
Louise. She's played a lot more chapters than I have.
君、リカちゃんじゃないね。あの夜に出会ったリカちゃんもどきの方だね。正体を表したな、宇宙人め。本物のリカちゃんをどこへやった？本物のリカ。
Yikes. yeah, creepy Rika.
ここにいるわよ。みぱー。ああ、その小バカにしたところは 間違いなくリカちゃんだね。そう、お社様は宇宙人だった。フルデ家はその末裔で宇宙人の直系の一族だもんね。
Nope.
脳みそを叩き割って中の寄生虫を引きずり出してやるからね。
Rena raised her hatchet and charged at Rika with a scream. Give me a CG of the lightsaber fight.
一撃で叩き割ってあげるよ。
Rena looked like a beast charging towards its prey. Oh yes! Let's go! And this is where it's turning into an action game. Rika took a step backwards and lowered her body, preparing to counterattack. She did that with no hesitation.
あいにくね。遊んであげるわ。おいで、ナタ女。
いいですの、ケイチさん。すべてのヒントと答えはもう朝の時にありましたの。
Oh, now it's Satogo's perspective. I'm so sad. I don't know what to do.
俺に分かるように話せ。
That has to be the thumbnail yet. Let's go console Keiichi. We haven't had that for a while.
つまりどういうことなんだ。
It's simple if you just remember. Come on, it's quite obvious when you do.
ねえ、今日は臭い。窓閉めて。
バーカ。窓を閉めたらもっと暑くなるんだよ。
We had been smelling gasoline coming from outdoors. There was no forestry service people in the office, so they weren't doing any work today. The smell wasn't coming from anything they were doing. In other words, it was the smell of Rena's gasoline. Rena hid the gasoline near the classroom. She had it in a plastic container. You can't smell gasoline that's in a plastic container. So in other words, she had more gasoline ready than just the container she used to spread it around in the classroom. Where was the smell coming from? Was it coming from outside? Vaporized gasoline is heavier than air. It sinks. There was another hint other than that.
あれ、俺たちのボールがね。王女、お前がまた隠したんだろ
う。誰がそんなものを隠しますの？どうせ隠すならもう少し気の利いたものを隠しましたよ。
Kids who love to play with their ball never lose it. It should have been in the same place as it always was, but it was gone. So that must mean Rena used it for something. The gasoline was coming from above. A ball was missing. So maybe it was stuffed somewhere.
レナさんは雨どいの出口をボールで詰めて雨どいいっぱいにガソリンを注いだんですの。
You get that, Keiichi? It's either console Keiichi or OG Keiichi. No other compromises. Normally, I kind of agree. I do think that those are the better Keiichis. Having said that, the expression on the new Keiichi's face when he's just like has the lowered eyes, he looks just like so done with life, is kind of hilarious.
どこから？ 2階の屋根の上からですのよ。
The drain canal extended along the roof of the second floor and then came straight down to the ground. If it was plugged and filled with gasoline, it was like a huge Molotov cocktail that extended from the ground to the roof of the second floor. Furthermore, the drain canal ran by the classroom windows. If the canal exploded, the classroom would explode too.
じゃあつまり次元発火装置は
2階の窓から延長コードか何かで引っ張って屋根
How
の
did
上
she
です
get
わ。
this all in place before school today? I picked up a pair of scissors and cut Satogo's bonds.
そういや、リカちゃんはどうやって縄跳びを解いたんだ。
あるございましたわね。私は溶けるほど痩せてなくて。
Uh-oh. I rubbed Satogo's head.
みんなを頼む。俺は屋上へ行く。
As I jumped out of the classroom, Satoko stopped me.
ケイチさん、これを。
なんだよ、まだ何かあるの
Something
か。
silver sailed through the air. I caught it. It was a metal bat. Satoshi's bat! It's coming back! The aluminum power bat.
ニーニーのですのよ。後でちゃんと返してもらうでございますからね。
ああ、すまん、佐藤。
The metal bat fell right into my palm. I didn't even feel its weight. It really eased my mind. The name Satoshi was written on the handle. It's been used to kill a few people before. This was the bat that belonged to Satogo's brother Satoshi. He was the victim of last year's tragedy. You and I were the same. I won't let another tragedy take place. I'll treat this as a gift from you, who was waiting in the wings. Let's rip apart the script of this demonic tragedy together. Let's go, Satoshi! I know there's still 2 more chapters left, but do you think Higurashi's use of the power of friendship trope is done well? Yeah, I think so. As I tried to run up the stairs, I heard a loud noise coming from the hallway by the teacher's office. Sometimes it's a bit heavy-handed, and there's sometimes where I'm like, okay, you're stupid to trust Shion when she literally is torturing your friends. But, you know, yeah, it's a good message all in all. Just to, like, you know, value your friends. I saw Rika-chan rolling on the floor. Damn, Rika-chan! You held out for as long as you could.
クソなのです。身体年齢があと5つ
It
もあ
must be
れば
rough being like 1,000 years old, but only having like a young body to work with.
さあ次はケイイチくんだよ。うわー
や
Oh,
べえ
sorry,
Don't do
Rena.
that.
The guy called me about my car's extended warranty. I gotta go.
今は屋根の上だ。
よく気づいたね。よく気づいたね。でもさせるもんか。
Rena's face looked unbelievably scary. She was ready to rip me apart if she caught me. In that case, just try me. I jumped up the stairs, skipping every other step. Oh, just the way I go upstairs. I turned on the bug in my pocket. I didn't have time to put on the earphones. As Rena flew up the stairs, her foot got caught on a jump rope. She tripped and then 3 buckets fell on her head. How did Satoko get that up so fast? The result of Satoko's trap. Why didn't nobody take the hatchet when she fell? That would have made her way less dangerous. Satoko leaned against the wall and waved her index finger in a mocking gesture.
なかなかの線を言ってましたけど、まだまだこの私とトラップ勝負をするのは3億5000光年くらい早くてでございましたよ。
さとこちゃん、光年は距離だよ。
I mean, no, she's got a point. I have to get the creepy Rena smile every time it happens. Smash! The 4th bucket hit Satoko on the head. I continued up to the rooftop. Rena ignored Satoko and ran after me. I thought he was making like the emoji, like wide eyes emoji.
大石さんか。やったぞ。ライターは奪った。次元破壊装置も分かってる。屋根の上。雨どい
Wait,
の
you
中。
took her lighter. You can use the pepper spray now.
今抑えに行ってる。
大石さん、まさかあれじゃ。
Luisi grabbed the pair of binoculars from Kuwagaya and looked at the rain gutter on the rooftop. There was something like an alarm clock sitting there. The cord from the clock was extending into the 2nd floor window. It was so obvious, but they didn't even notice until just now. Satoko was working hard to remove her classmates' restraints, but she couldn't do anything about the bike lock on Nimion's neck.
みんな、私はいいから早く逃げて。
Also, I could totally find something to create sparks of a hatchet in the classroom. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's okay, Satoko, you're a hero even if you can't gloat. Yeah.
あら、ミオさんらし
Yeah,
く
she's
も
been
な
for
い。
the ringer, alright?
こういう瞬間でも我が物の
Because her
らしくある
face
べきで
is
はござい
bleeding
ません。
profusely and she's probably lost a pint of blood.
部長はただ一言、こいつを外せと命令遊ばされれば結構ですのよ。
Satoko reached for the back of her collar and produced a bent hairpin. Satoko opened the window, climbed onto the windowsill, and faced the bike lock that was restraining Mion.
みんなは全部のカーテンを開けて窓を全部開けたら外へ駆け出すこと。
委員長、前原さんはどうするんです？
ケイちゃんは警察が助けてくれるから、みんなはとにかく一刻も早くここから逃げて。ってもう外したの？
北条聡子に
I'm
とって
just saying,
ユージロックの U はうわこんなの楽
Mion's
勝の U でござい
There's
ました
no
よ。
way that that sentence is that many words in Japan. In Japanese. Mion's face has a shocking lack of blood on it. The binoculars were trained on the classroom. All the curtains were open, as well as the windows. The children, in turn, were all running out of the schoolyard. Luisi pushed Otaka. No, that's the guy at Hooters. He pushed Utaka aside and grabbed his radio and yelled into it.
全班突入しろ。突入人質を全員確保しろ。犯人は人質1名を追って2階へ上がったもよ。
これ何の真似だね。大石君、無線を返したまえ。
Oh, Uisi might be losing his pension for that one. Utaka tried to grab the radio from Uisi, but Kumagai stepped in. My man! There was a dull noise and Utaka crumpled to the floor, convulsing. Whoa! Guys! Guys, Kumagai can actually smile! I can't believe it! I thought life had just beat him down too much. Oh no, I hate it when that happens.
教室内にはまだガソリンが充満してるぞ。十分に注意しろ。ガス弾や閃光弾の類の使用は禁ずる。
Yeah?
繰り返す。ガス弾、閃光弾の使用は禁ずる。大爆発。
Okay, I hear you. Use the gas pumps first. I said don't! That was fast. Only a little bit. Is this Kumagai's chapter? That's why he was the picture on the Steam page.
か？扉を打ち破れないですかね。
教室真正面です。ガソリン臭濃厚。火災に着火の恐れあり。指示を待ちます。
くそ、ブレーカーを落とせば上がりだと思ったのにな。電源室は放棄。2階部分を制圧されたし。大高君、電源室確保失敗時はどうするつもりだったんです？
それに失敗しないための特殊部隊だ。
これだから坊ちゃん育ちは。あとは時計のコンセントを押さえるし
She's
かない
like,
か。
I hate rich people. Bleh. This is why I gamble my money in Mahjong.
1階屋根部分に男子人質1名を発見しました。
おいさん、前原君です。
スピーカーを貸せ。前原さん、時計の電源は2階の奥の部屋。
I shook my head repeatedly. I couldn't do that. Rena was coming after me, so I couldn't head that way. What else could I do? The only way was to go up to the roof of the second floor and get the clock from there. Let's go! Uisi's the hype man! This is so hype. This is the best chapter. Like, it just is. How are they gonna top this? Uisi-san was telling me to go further up. Sadako only told me that it was up on the rooftop on the second floor, and she didn't tell me where exactly. She only said it was in the drain canal, but maybe Uisi-san found it with his binoculars. I put my foot on the railing of the veranda and ran up to the rooftop. I had never felt so light. I felt like I could lift myself up with just 2 or 3 fingers. 30 seconds would be plenty of time. I could do it in 1,500 seconds. Oh, wait. I could get there in half that. Over there. Was it that? It was!
ああ、撃てたら撃ちたいけど、それ実弾ですよね。実は狙撃銃タイプの催涙ガス銃とか、そういうことだったりしません。
Higurashi getting so hype with something I never had in my betting cards when you started chapter 1. I mean, I still think chapter 1 is probably my second favorite chapter thus far. Chapter 1 was really good. It was a really good start. Also, chapter 1 is free on Steam, which is crazy.
そういうのは軍隊で使ってくださいよ。日本の警察には必要ないですね。
What did he say? Yeah, it's live ammunition. Whoops.
前原さん、追ってきて
Thanks! I knew that.
追い詰められる。
How many more seconds did I have? Who cares? Whoa! I slid down the roof and grabbed the kitchen timer that was sitting on the drain pipe, which was filled with gasoline. There was a cord of a copper wire attached to it. This was supposed to create sparks and start an explosion. The hands on the clock kept moving, but with the second hand trying to reach the minute hand. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Whoa! I just pushed the minute hand back so it can't go up that far. I threw it on the ground. A moment later, I heard the noise of something breaking. That was risky. It definitely could have sparked that one. Ha, 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 ha. Did I do it? Yes, sir! Now let's just hope Rena doesn't smash us with a hatchet. But here's the thing. This chapter is getting too happy of an ending. None of the other chapters had a happy ending at all, so something bad's gonna happen. Your only complaint is that the music was too quiet during this scene. Well, I have to pump the music down in editing, like through OBS. Otherwise, it's hard to hear my voice. I also turn my own voice down, believe it or not.
やった前原さんやった
圭一さんはちょっとハラハラさせすぎです
Keiichi's
わ
more
ね。
competent than I would be. If I was in his shoes, I definitely would not have gotten up there that fast or found it in time. I would have been like, where is it? I thought it was, where is the drain? But
余裕がないのはエレガントではありませんでしたよ。
not only policemen, but the children who were on their way to the ambulances raised their voices in cheer.
大石さん、消防からっす。現場は依然危険度最大につき、突入犯全員の即時退却を進言しています。
次元発火装置はもうないのに
発火装置がなくても危険度は最大級の現場だそうです。これ以上は突入犯全員の生命に危険があります。
くそ屋上の前原君をどうしよう。2階屋根ならな。
大石さん、図面では降車下に
I
花
mean, he
壇があり
could
ます。
jump once.
そこへ飛び降りるように誘導しましょう。
大石より突入中の全敗へ。
Keiichi competent, two words that could never exist together in a sentence. I just said that he's more competent than I would be in that situation. That's more of a diss on my own competence rather than a diss on his, or a praise of his.
作戦中止退却せよ退却せよ。聞こえますか。それから竜宮さんももうそこは危険です。いつ爆発するかわからない。校舎の下に花壇があります。
花壇だって。畜生、ここからじゃよくわかんねえってのによ。
But it didn't sound like I had enough time to be looking for it. I noticed a white hand at the edge of the roof, followed by Rena's head. Yeah, that's an image. Rena slowly crawled up the rooftop. I waited for her there.
まさかこんなところに隠したのを見つけるとはね。これで全て失敗か。
Rena scratched at her throat. The band-aids peeled off and her throat started to bleed.
ゲームセットだな、レナ。
We were confronting each other on the rooftop on the second floor. This wasn't a club activity, but a real battle. Rena was glaring at me with hatred at first. But maybe she had already given up. She started smiling wickedly. I heard the chorus of the Higurashi in the background, as if to cool us down from the heat of battle. I didn't think we needed their service yet, though.
そうだね。すごろくだったらここはゴールで圭一くんの上がりだね。でもこれはゲームじゃない。だからここはゴールじゃなくて行き止まりって言うんだよ。
ち、負けを認めないやつだな。レナはつくづく強いやつだよ。絶対へこたれない。くじけない。
I think it might be time for the action shots.
最後まで戦う。そして最後まで信じるんだ。
こんな時に褒められてもちっとも嬉しくないね。圭一くんは私が最後の命をかけての計画をぶち壊しま
I'd
した。
really like you to explain, even in your diluted state, what your thought process here of like this is the best thing to do in order to save everything. You were gonna commit like mass murder / suicide on innocent people. Even if you thought Mion was guilty, like everyone else in that classroom was innocent. You're not explaining that away.
人類を宇宙人から守ろうと必死に戦
You
って
were
たの
going to
に
kill children.
それをぶち壊しちゃった。これで人類が滅んじゃったら圭一くんのせいで滅んだって歴史に残っちゃうんだよ。
I didn't mean to laugh, but I couldn't help it. My name would be written down in the history books of the aliens as the one who destroyed the human species. Somehow that sounded kind of cool.
レナ、お前が何と言おうとこのゲームは俺の勝ちだ。すでに俺が勝ってるのにレナが負けを認めないだけだ。
そうだね。そうなのかもしれないね。
でもそういうものかもしれないよな。ゲームってのは勝者が決まって終わるもんじゃない。敗者が決まって終わるもんなんだ。ってことは、俺が勝つだけじゃダメって
No,
こ
the
と
game
だ。
does end when there's a winner. Because there could be people who lose at a game before the game is decided. Like in elimination-based games.
それはどういう意味なのかな。
I tapped my shoulder with the metal bat, gesturing for Rena to come at me. What?
レナに きっちり負けたってことを叩き込んで
We're
やろうっ
getting
て
the
こ
hype
とだよ。
water fight music again. I won't run or hide. Don't you know? Do you know why? According to the rules of our club, we don't run from our enemies.
ここで白黒をつけてやるぜ。レナがもう負けてるってことよ。
ふーん。
言ってやるぜ。寄生虫に宇宙人？バカじゃねえのか？そんなの今時誰が信じるんだよ。
What the heck?
ダセえな。鼻で笑っちまうで。
Goofus believes that aliens came to Earth and are taking control of humans.
最初から信じてなかったくせに信じてたふりをしてレナを騙してたな。許せない許せない許せない。
レナが信じてるのは勝手だぜ。だが俺はそんなうさんくせえの信じねえからな。
Keiji would do great on Twitter.
同じ信じるなら徳川の埋蔵金の方が楽しそうだぜ。
No, not Takugawa. I hate him. He always declares war on me in Civ 4.
それでも信じさせたいってんなら俺たち部活メンバーには簡単な信じさせ方があるじゃねえかよ。
Oh boy. Oh, yikes. That's an image.
勝った方が正義ってことだね。
そういうことさ。
Wow. Rena and I grinned at each other, and as we went in circles around each other on the rooftop, we both checked the distance between us. It's like a flashback to when we were like dancing in sync with the water gun fight.
レナが俺をぶちのめせたなら俺も宇宙人の話を信じてやろう
That's
じゃ
not
ない
how
か。
debates work.
朝晩 UFO を呼ぶ怪しげな踊りをして牛小屋にキャトルミューティレーションに行ってやる。だがなレナ、俺にグーの音が出ないくらいにぶちのめされたら
それを取り決める必要はないかなケイイチ君なんかに私が負けるはずないもん。
Rena came at me with a heavy strike. Ooh, lightsabers! I caught it easily with the metal bat. It looked like there were some sparks. This was finally getting interesting. Isn't this school still a time bomb?
まあそう言うなよ。意外にそうでもなかった
You
りす
know,
るもんだ
Keiji
ぜ。
has killed you in the past.
俺も部活で何度も激戦をくぐってきてようやく分かってきたことがある。自分ってやつをな。どういう時に自分が最高のパワーを出せるか分かってきたんだ。
へえ、それは何かな
Ooh. I'm so glad they made new Rena sprites for this. It makes it so much better. Rena, your hatchet can be a powerful weapon, but my metal bat is as powerful as your hatchet, is it? Sure, it doesn't have a blade, but it reaches farther and it's easy to handle. I won't be going for a defensive battle. I'm going to fight you face to face, and I'm going to defeat you. I'm sure I'm stronger than you physically, but you're better at drawing out your true potential, Rena. In other words, we're equally matched. This is great! I don't need to hold back at all! He's like...
私を叩きのめし
he's
たらどうす
literally
るって
going to die from this girl who's like going to kill him, and he's just like, this is my favorite time in life. Like, this is great. What a weirdo.
ほらほらほらほら押されてるんじゃないかな。
遊んでやってるだけだぜ。まあ見てろ。レナをコテンパンにしたらどうしてやろうかね。これだけ互いにコインやチップをかけまくってるんだ。相当の支払いを覚悟してもらうぜ。
Wow.
得ることの叶わない勝利に酔うもまたケイイチ君の虚勢が痛々しいよ。
I love this quick transition to the crouch sprite. So
ちっち
good.
っち分かってないな。俺はご褒美のデカさに比例してパワーアップする男だぜ。そうだな。もちろん
Oh, brother.
俺専属のメイド
Keiji,
さん
I
だよ
thought we had
な。
moved past the weird fetish stuff.
朝はおはようございますから夜はおやすみなさいまでたっぷりご奉仕
Unless he's
三
not
昧だ。
talking about a fetish he made, in which case, still weird, but less so.
メイド衣装は監督に全面協力を受けて 日替わりチェンジのお楽しみ。
Never mind. I gave him too much credit.
おー、夜はお休みなさいまで。いやー、今夜は寝かさないぜ。
So weird. Keiichi, I wanted you to win this battle, but you're making me change my mind. That's not a comp. That's the indictment on his character.
そんなのはごめんだね。
She's like, I'm not doing that.
むしろ私が勝って逆の立場に
Aren't you
してあげ
trying
るよ。
to murder him right now? We both laughed like crazy people as we struck at each other. Yeah, you're both crazy now. It was strange how much fun it was becoming. It's because he has his Get Psyched playlist playing. Rena and I were trying to kill each other, and yet it was a blast! Yeah, you're going crazy. Sparks were flying. We could get seriously injured. If we fell off the rooftop, we'd break our bones. Yet it was so much fun! I had been mourning and crying all day while Rena terrified me. How did all that turn into this?
ってことは結局俺たちにシリアスは似合わね
How
えって
have
ことだ。
neither of you actually landed a hit on the other yet? You just keep, like, blocking each other's attacks.
互いの火花を浴び合いながらヘラヘラしてるのが互いに性に合ってるってわけだ。
おあいにくだね。レナはエレガントで上品なのが大好きなの。そういうヘラヘラしたのはケイイチくんが一人でお楽しみ遊ばせ。
Imagine if this is what Rena did in Chapter 1's ending. That would be a very weird ending. Rena's next stripe came at a strange angle, but I managed to deflect it.
おって。甘い甘い全然ダメだぜ。やっぱりお前撃沈確定だな。
ようやく体が温まってきたところだよ。こんなのウォーミングアップでしょ。
はあ？バカなりゃしねえよ。こんなのお散歩程度だな。お前汗だくだぜ。
お前は汗の代わりに血を垂らせばいい
Alright,
や。
I thought you were just trying to beat me, not kill me.
前原さん飛び降りて。
He's like, what are you talking about? This is the most fun I've had in months. Weird kid.
ダメっすね。血が上っちゃってるようで声が聞こえてないみたいです。
Uisi has some fucking popcorn. He's like, man, the kid's good. Oh, gross. No. Back to remake Uisi.
ごめん。何
をぼーっとしてるんですか。彼を救出する方法を考えないと。
Uisi couldn't figure out why he was distracted, considering the seriousness of the situation. He was engrossed in watching the two of them fight with the sunset behind them. He's watching the anime. But Uisi wasn't the only one. Everyone was watching, captivated by their battle on the rooftop. I could use some help here, Fox! At that moment, a sudden loud voice broke the silence. The students who were about to climb onto the ambulance were cheering him on. Mion was being loaded onto a stretcher with bandages around her head, but even she sat up captivated as she was by Rena and Keiichi's duel. Our once happy days were supposed to have shattered due to a series of misunderstandings. They were supposed to be irretrievable. But, why? Why did I feel this way? This was such a close game, but it wouldn't be fun to stay in a stalemate forever. Rena and I kicked at each other with perfect timing and increased the distance between us. I should watch the anime version of this scene after I'm done. It's awesome. We'll see about that.
どうだレナ。最高に楽しくねえか。
at least he's gone. We can go back to...
でもケイイチ君の頭を叩き割ったらもっと楽しいかな。
Ooh, such good transitions. Rena, don't swing that around. It's dangerous. We're on the roof, you know. Also, I want to give a shout out to Ruminik Lord on Twitch, as he was the one who recommended that I install the 07 mod to get all of the different music and art styles. Also, if you don't use 07 mod, you don't get the voice acting here. So, yeah, thank you so much for telling me to do that. Because, wow, this would not be as fun without it.
こっちへ戻ってこい。足場を十分に使おうじゃねえか。こんな最高の舞台何度もあるもんじゃねえ。まんべんなく楽しもうぜ。
Moon is lovely tonight.
絵になるよ。
Sorry, Rena, I already have the thumbnail for the last video.
私たちほらいつの間にか月を背負ってるん
Well,
だ
you are
ね。
tempting me, though.
風が気持ちいいや。
It's 9 o'clock at night. Do your parents know where you are? It was such a fantastical scene. Keiji's parents are like, man, Keiji must be staying late at school today. Oh, him and his little club. Two people were fighting on the rooftop of the school building with the moon behind them. It was almost unbelievable. All the policemen and children looked at that mysterious and fantastical scene from a distance, completely entranced. Guys, Mion is bleeding out. Someone died. Everyone was thinking the same thing, but nobody said anything. Actually, nobody has died except for Rina and Tepe, and who cares about them? Why does it look like they're having fun? Is this how we're going to knock Rena out of it? Just like, remember when we had fun as a club? Let's go back to that way. Okay. あの始まりの必要が出た It reminds me of the Watanagashi Festival, eh?
どうも俺は静かに夕涼みってのがダメでさ。月が出るとはしゃがずにはいられなくなっちまうんだよ。
Oh, we've got werewolves now? All of us club members went crazy on the night of Watanagashi. Not Rika. The mayor scolded us by the end of it, but we laughed at each other and promised we'd do the same thing again next year. Oh, he's talking about this Watanagashi.
月に狂うか。なんだかかっこいいじゃない。私たちはもう月に狂ってるのかもしれないね。
Yeah, you both are. Objectively.
仲間と命のやり取りをしてて、そいつが面白いと感じちまうようじゃ。こいつがそうさ。
Yeah, I'm really glad that I cut off the last stream when I did, because wow, I would not have enough time to do this, and I would not have enjoyed the end as much as now if I had to squeeze it all in one stream. Some people say the moon has the power to arouse passions in people. Maybe that's true and maybe it's not. One thing that's for sure is that even if it were a new moon tonight, we would still feel the same way. As our surroundings got darker, the sparks we'd create with each hit started to look like fireflies. Hey now, isn't there gasoline in the drain pipe right nearby? Who cares? If an explosion happens, it happens! Keiichi, that would destroy school property. Don't you also not get the custom backgrounds without the mod and only the photographs Ryu 7 took? Probably.
バットが汗で滑ってるんじゃない？休憩にしてハンカチで手でも拭いたら？その間に頭を叩き割るけどね。
I thought you were just trying to make me your servant.
そいつはいいや。レナこそ汗でスカートがまとわりついて気持ち悪いだろ。脱いでもいいんだぜ。
Creep.
俺は手を出さないで見物するけどな。
Creep.
へえ。それで足に見とれてる隙にガツンとお見舞いするよ。
楽しいな、レナ。
悪くないね。
We flew. We danced. We struck. We've laughed. We stepped back once in a while to catch a breath and then charged at each other and let the sparks fly. Yeah, this scene's a little on the long side. We aimed at each other, and as we went around in circles on the rooftop of our school, our special stage, Rena and I were all sweaty. But we weren't exhausted yet. The beads of sweat rolling down my body just tickled me. We exchanged furious blows one after the other. Neither of us was at an advantage or disadvantage. Neither of us exulted in victory or raged in defeat. The battle with Rena in itself was fun. It was like a erotic dance. A dance I couldn't dance by myself. It was a dance I could only dance with someone with whom I was equally matched.
あの時さ、クラス全体の部活の日、水鉄砲で一騎打ちした時さ、思わなかったか？
I knew they were gonna bring back the water gun fight.
実は私も思ってた。
もう一回こんな戦いをしてみたいって。
As we thought that way on the rooftop, our classmates down there must have thought the same. They're like, can you please finish it up? It's 10 o'clock. Our fight was so pure and passionate, and everyone thought the same thing. We want to join them.
あの時も同じだった。水鉄砲だったけど、やることは同じだった。
あの時より面白いぜ。
Because it's real dangerous.
今度は水の残量なんか気にしなくていいんだからよ。
水鉄砲じゃ火花も出ないしね。
This is turning very weird.
打ち合うこの感覚もないもんな。
We both were breathing hard, waiting for the right timing to take a step forward. In the midst of that, we grinned at each other.
あの時も多分言ったセリフだが、あえてもう一度言うぜ。
じゃあレナもあの時と同じセリフで返そうかな。
We both smiled wickedly in the same moment.
やり合うのが楽しくてならねえぜ。決着がつくことすら興ざめするくらいにな。
負けても恨まないでね。
ああ、恨まない。この勝負を終わらせた自分の不甲斐なさを恨んでやるぜ。だがそいつを恨むのはどうやらレナの方になりそうだな。
どうかな。ケイチ君、足が藁だよ。
くそったれー。おりゃ
Everyone was captivated by our fight. Okay, can we get to something new? They're just repeating the same things over and over again. They were swept up in our fight. We both had weapons. Weapons deadly enough to seriously hurt one another. But we were both perfectly matched, and neither of us had hit the other one yet. It seems unbelievable. Why did they look so happy? This was just ridiculous. Yeah, a little bit. All the people below were just watching this fight on the rooftop with a beautiful moon as the backdrop. Not even the police could stop them. This is impossible. I feel like the SWAT team probably should have gotten up here by now to apprehend Rena. If Keiichi dies because Rena kills him, I am going to be ticked off at the police for just being like, let's just watch them. Durr. The battle was absurd and absolutely impossible.
ケイチさん、なるべく屋根の中央を維持するんですのよ。わずかの高みを生かすんですよ。
Get the high ground! Satoko and some of her classmates cheered Keiichi on, but there were some who were cheering for Rena too. Why? You're cheering for the mass murderer! To them, this was no longer a fight to the death. It was just the second round of their water gun battle. A club activity is a club activity, and a game is a game. But the stakes are your lives. This was just the second round, so nobody would die. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure someone's gonna die, even though they had real weapons. Nobody thought they would get hurt. Ueshi's gonna go, my person! When they're like right at the edge and he's gonna fall off onto the tractor. And then hit his head and get a concussion. And suffer in the hospital for 3 weeks on life support before flatlining, leaving his parents grieving, and then leaving the town. Eventually they get divorced. And they never find love again. But no, nobody will get hurt. Rika wasn't cheering. She was just looking up at the rooftop.
こんなの見たことない。
Rika thought that to herself. She thought Keiichi would win, not just against Rena. Rika thought Keiichi could even destroy the walls of the maze of tragedies that had no exit. He is the protagonist.
狙撃犯は何をしてるのかね。人質に危害を加えようとしているのだぞ。 直ちに射
Yeah,
殺した
Utaga's
ま
like,
え。
bro! Utaga's the only one that actually has his head on straight, and everyone's like, Utaka, you butt! Watch the fight! As Utaka yelled into the radio, Mion screamed for him to stop.
違うよ。レナを撃たないで。レナはもう違う。
No, she still is.
さっきまでのおかしいレナじゃない。あのレナは違う。だから撃たないで。
違うとはどういう意味かね。見たまえ、現に狂気を振りかざしているじゃないか。明らかな殺意だ。射殺しないと人質が危ないのだよ。
とにかく違う。レナを
I
撃っちゃいけ
mean,
な
I
い。
know she doesn't want Rena to die, but, like, Utaka is being based right now.
もしもレナを撃ったら、ケイちゃんはあんたを殺すよ。
They were
間違
going
いな
to
く。
drive Mio to the hospital to treat her head wound, but the ambulance driver's just too captivated by the fight.
断言できる。
どうして私をなのかね。
あの二人は殺し合いを
Are
し
you
てるんじゃ
sure
ない。
about that?
ただ撃ち合って火花を飛ばして遊んで
That
るだ
sounds
けなんだ
very
よ。
naive.
見てわかるでしょ。そしてケイちゃんは語りかけてる。自分がレナと対等なことを。対等というのは一番信頼できるということ。ケイちゃんはレナの目を覚ませる。いや、もう覚ましつつあるんだよ。レナの悪い夢はもう終わりつつあるんだ。
Oh yeah, Keiichi definitely would kill the guy if he shot Rena.
ケイチ君はやっぱり最高だよ。
This makes no sense. Rena, you're trying to actively murder him horribly, and you're like, you're the best, I love doing this.
君だけは殺
Then
したくない
don't! Put the weapon down!
君がいない世界はさぞや退屈だろうと思うよ。
なんだか照れるお言葉、痛み入るぜ。んでどうするんだ。その宇宙人の侵略があって大変じゃねえのかよ。
Imagine if I split the final video into 2 parts and just use the sunset version of this thumbnail as one video and then the nighttime version as the other one.
宇宙人なんて寄生虫なんてなんだかどうでもいいような気がし
Maybe
て
she
くるよ。
is getting better.
世界が滅ぶならいつでも好きな時に滅べばいいし、御三家の陰謀なんて知ったことか。
ああ、そうさ。たとえ明日隕石がぶつかって
Keiichi,
地球が砕け
the
ると
last
した
time
っ
you
て。
talked about that, the weird, mysterious mass death with no explanation happened.
今この瞬間より楽しいことなんて他にあるもんか。
チェ、それにお前毒を盛られてて今夜で死んじまうんじゃねえのかよ。余命の短いやつがピンピンしやがって。
She's like, my throat itches like crazy.
そうだったね。すっかり忘れてたよ。私は今夜中に首をかきむしって死んでしま
Have
うん
you
だ
tried
った
not
っけ。
doing that?
なんだよ、自分で作った設定だろ。忘れるんじゃねえや。ほれ、たまには首をボリボリかきやがれ。分かってるよ。もう痒くなんかねえんだろ。そりゃそうさ。首を引っかくより。
私たちはもっと楽しいことをしているんだもの。
I'm willing to bet the anime version of the scene is not like 30 minutes long. I wished it would never end, but my body was screaming. I was breathing hard and felt dizzy from lack of oxygen. My upper body felt as light as a piece of paper, as if even a slight breeze could take me away. It really had been a blast, but I needed it to end soon. I felt the same sadness as in the water gun fight. Back then, it had been declared a draw.
今回はどうなるだろうね。
さてな、一つ言えることがある。最高に楽しかったぜ。
I jumped backwards and slammed the roof of my bat. The sound was as intense as a huge drum, and the noise woke up to the people who were captivated by our fight. The silence returned, and the chorus of the Higurashi filled the air.
じゃあ、
Oh, he turned off the Get Psych
一
music.
度間合いを開こうじゃねえか。
そうだね。次の一撃で今度こそ決着をつけよう。
We started to move slowly and increased the distance between us. Everyone realized it. This fight was ending very soon.
じゃあ最後の最後だ。もう一回確認するぜ。
なんだっけ。
おいおい、この戦いはお互いかけてるものがあったろうが。
Oh.
お前そのために戦ってたんじゃなかったのかよ。
そうだ
I
った
love
っ
the
け。
flute
ごめん、
music.
忘れちゃってた。
ち仕方ねえやつだな。確認するぜ。まずは俺が勝った場合だ。俺の専属メイドになってご奉仕三昧の前にした。人前ではこれが私のご主人様ですってちゃんと紹介するんだぞ。
可愛い服じゃないと嫌だ
Rena,
よ。
you think garbage is cute. You're gonna be fine.
そこは任せろ。監督の完全監修のもと、古式ゆかしいオールドスタイルから、
Okay.
ちょっ
By
と
little-
ドキドキな改造メイド服までいろいろと
Little
取り揃え
dangerous
る。
better mean that there are like places to put your knives in the uniform.
もちろん特注でレナにぴったりとフィットするサイズなんだ。すごいだろ。
すごいすごい。負ける気はさらさらないけど、なんだか
Alright,
楽
I
し
guess she's into it.
次はレナが勝った場合だ。
I paused for a moment.
レナが勝ったなら俺はレナの話を信じる。
Rena was happy until just a moment ago, but that expression was suddenly wiped from her face.
宇宙人が地球侵略に来ていて、俺たちの頭の中には寄生虫が入ってる。そしてそれを園崎家が暗躍してて秘密研究をしてて、世界は明日から宇宙人に支配されるって話を信じてやる。
Keiji, you said you believed me already before. You just offered me something you should already have.
あとお前は毒で今夜最後はちゃんと見とってやるから安心
How
しろ。
would you do that?
なんだか私が勝ってもつまんないね。
If you win, you die.
ケイチ君が勝った方のご褒美の方が楽しそうだよ。
仕方ねえだろ。お前そういう話だからわざわざ学校を乗っ取ったんじゃなかったのかよ。
そうだったんだっけね。
She does look less crazy.
ごめん、忘れそうになっ
Maybe
てたよ。
exercise is the key to getting rid of the demon presence. Rena smiled sadly for a moment, but soon that expression was wiped off her face too.
俺は何しろレナのメイドさんがかかってるんだからよ。意地でも勝ちに行
Yeah,
くぜ。
yeah, of course, I'm sure you do.
ブーブー、レナが勝っても面白くない
You
よ。
can
なんだよ。じゃあ今から帰るか。レナが勝ったらどうするよ。
I want your flesh. Finally, Rena smiled happily again. The breeze dried our sweat. It was a good feeling. We no longer went crazy, even with the moon out. We could finally enjoy the coolness of the evening. It would be so nice if we could just lie down on our backs and gaze at the moon. Yeah, Rena, you're 100% getting jail time, even if this ends nicely. Still smiling a little, Rena spoke.
私もケイチ君と同じご褒美がいいな。
Rena's just like, I just want to be your maid. That's all I really want, so we'll make that happen.
なんだよそれ。俺がメイドかよ。どぎついな。
別にメイドさんじゃなくていいよ。でも他は同じ。朝は私におはようって言って、夜は私におやすみって言
Wow,
ってほしい。
yeah, they're just coming out with this.
いっぱい私に優しくしてほしい。いっぱい私を楽しくさせてほしい。
Sounds like she's asking him to be your boyfriend.
あれこれじゃ私が勝ってもケイチ君が勝っても私たちずっと一緒なんだよね。
Rena, you're going to jail. Big time.
一緒ではあるが待遇にえらい違いがあるけどな。
Hey, her laugh's not creepy anymore. Never mind. Never mind.
どうしてこんなにも大好きなケイチ君と私はこんなことをしてい
You
る
were
んだ
you
ろ
were
う。
upset that I stopped you from blowing up the school and everybody in it.
さてな、どうして俺たちは屋根の上になんかいるんだ。何しに俺たちはここへ登ったんだっけ。
どうしてだったっけ。
Are you trying to be funny, or do you just think I'm stupid?
忘れちゃったよ。
バカと煙は上へ登るっ
Oops,
てやつ
all
だろ。
airheads.
じゃあ俺たちは二人とも大バカだな。
バカ仲間だね。
仲間だな。
This is a very weird scene.
じゃあそろそろ行こうじゃねえ
Both
か。
with the same thing. Why do you have to try to kill each other?
せっかくの体がクールダウンしちまう。
そうだね。体が冷めちゃわないうちに決着をつけよ
We readied our weapons and took our stances. I thought you didn't want to fight anymore.
う。私ね、やっぱりやめないってそう言おうと思った。
I shook my head slowly.
ダメだ。決着は必要なんだ。
What?
じゃないと終わらない。せっかくの俺とお前の戦いが終われない。うやむやじゃダメなんだ。
What? I don't understand.
綺麗に終わらないとダ
You're
メなん
being
だ。
irrational.
こんなのおかしい。ひょっとしたらどっちが勝っても負けてもご褒美がなしになるかもしれな
I
い。
just realized. Guys, I finally realized. This is Autism Simulator. This is showing what it's like for non-autistic people, how it feels like to be autistic. Because you're encountering these people where you're like, they're just acting completely irrationally. Why are they acting this way? This is what it feels like to be autistic.
その時も恨みっこはなしだぜ。だから先に言っとく。
何？
楽しかったぜ。
私もだよ。
レナ、仮に俺たちのどちらかが死のう
Why does one of you have to die if you both don't
絶
want
対
to
に
kill
ま
the
た会え
other
るから。
now?
だからまた
今度は普通に遊んで普通に笑い合って普通に恋をしよう。絶対に互いを疑わない。
Man, yeah.
互いを
They,
絶対に信じ合う。
they really are laying on the KGX Rena fanfic heavily here. Wow.
だから絶対に会えるよね。絶対だよね。
ああ、絶対だ。
Tears appeared in Rena's eyes. I noticed I was about to break down too.
じゃあ行くぜ。
There was no signal, but we stepped forward at the same time. Oh, whoa! Oh, let's go! Oh, that's gotta be the final thumbnail, right? That's incredible. Our shadows jumped in the moonlight. We were fighting so viciously earlier, but now it was like we were moving very slowly. It must have looked like a shadow play. Everyone was watching the shadows dance. How cinematic. Rena's shadow hit my metal bat violently. As a result, I let go of it. Uh-oh. The metal bat bounced once on the roof, then rolled down to the schoolyard. I had lost my weapon. Here was Rena's chance. Of course she wouldn't miss it. Oh. Dude. It's so simple. But my gosh, it's so effective. I love it. I was laying flat on the roof, and Rena got on top of me. Rena's knees were holding down my arms, and there was no way for me to fight back. The moon was divided in two. The shadow of Rena's hatchet had split the moon right down the middle. This was the end.
やるな。腕が抜けねえや。
ねえ圭一くん、もう決着ついたんだよね。
おいおい、そいつを振り下ろすまではまだ
But then
つ
she
かない
doesn't
ぜ。
get her wish.
嫌だ。
Yeah, thank you.
うん？
嫌だよ。嫌だ。
Rena's arms were still raised, but tears were pouring from her eyes.
どうしてこんなことになっちゃったんだろう。どこで変になっちゃったんだろう。私はみんなを大好きでみんなを信じていたはずなのに、どこで信じられなくなってしま
When
ったん
the
だろう。
demons were whispering in your ears.
どうして圭一くんにナタを振り上げているのかわかんない。どうして私はこんなにも大好きな仲間たちにこんなにも恐ろしいことをしてしまったんだろう。
お前、そうか。気づいたのか。この世界で。
自分で自分が信じられないよ。こんなにもあんなにも楽しい日々だったのに、ど 私は何の不満もなかったし何の不安もなかったのに、どうして自分で壊してしまうような真似を。
レナ、お前はやっぱりすげえよ。
After I killed you and Mion, I didn't realize I had done anything wrong, so I left a note and called Uisi-san. I still believe that someone else was at fault. Until, even after I was dead. I didn't even notice I had sinned. How sad it was to kill my friends because of a little misunderstanding, even when they were trying to help me. Still want to know why Rena was stalking him, though. And how painful it was not to realize it was a sin.
だからレナはすごいんだよ。仲間を一人も殺さなかった。
I love how I had to you didn't kill anyone. You didn't kill any of your friends.
お前は罪を犯す前にさすがだよレナ、さすがだよ。俺とは違うんだ。
Rena stood up slowly and lowered her hatchet.
仲間を傷つけたよ。みーちゃんにひどいことをした。
後で謝っとけ。俺的には当分の間姉妹の入れ替わりを見抜けてちょうどいい傷跡だと思ってる。
That's dark, but it's true.
それに殺しちゃってるもんね。
誰も殺してないだろ。誰を
Have you forgot about Rena and Teppei? Just like, bruh, everyone forgot about us.
マミやリナと北条哲平。
Well, they suck, so it's okay.
あの二人を殺すことは正しいことだと思ってた。でもあの二人を殺した日からもう世界は狂い始めていったと思う。
Well, no, I think the world started to go crazy. Rena tried to kill you. If you hadn't killed Rena, you would have been dead. So, Rena's death was kind of justified. You went a little too far with the lead pipe, though. Teppei's, nah, you could have gotten out of that without doing that. Although, it probably would have resulted in Satoko getting abused again, so...
だということは、あの二人を殺すのは正しいことじゃなかったのかな。
正しいかどうかは知らんが、最善手じゃなかったことは確かだな。
最善手って？
そんなこともわからないのかよ。
I grabbed Rena's head and embraced her. Then I told her something so simple. It was so simple that anyone could think of it. Killing people is wrong. So brave, but Rena didn't do it. I didn't do it either back then.
何かやばかったり、疑いそうになったり、辛いことがあったりしたときはな。
It was so simple.
仲間に相談するんだよ。
Oh no!
そうだよね。
Oh, that's a beautiful but also a sad CG right there.
そうだよね。
Rena cried in my arms for a while. She cried about the wrong choice she made at the very beginning. The choice couldn't have been hard to see. I'm sure it was something that was within her grasp. How stupid it was to worry about it by herself. She had friends. She had friends whom she trusted. Why did she think she couldn't talk to her friends about it?
私が間違ってた。どうして話さなかったんだろう。なんで私はみんなを信じてるのに信じてなかったんだろう。
俺もかつてそうだった。だから俺は笑わねえぞ。でも気づけたならいいんだ。しかもレナは俺なんかよりずっと早く気づけたじゃねえか。
We will trust each other. We will never doubt our friends. We will rely on each other. We will talk to each other and help each other. That's why friends are always happy and why we can endure anything together.
じゃあレナ、幕の降りた舞台だけどさ、これで全部おしまいだぜ。
カーテンコールって何かな。
まあまあ、俺の独り言だ。最後だけ付き合ってくれよ。
We stood up together, holding hands. The moon was hanging behind us. When I nodded, Rena threw away her hatchet. It disappeared into the darkness below. You could have hit somebody with that! Then I spoke to the audience in hell. The demons who weren't expecting this ending. I was proclaiming victory.
これで今宵はおしまいだぜ。
Well, there we go.
俺たちは惨劇に打ち勝った。 もう俺たちは互いを疑わない。だからいつまでも結
Bro,
束
did
してい
they just
る。
get married?
だからどんな惨劇が訪れようとも二度と屈すると思うんじゃねえ。悲劇など知るか、惨劇など知るか。悪魔どもが喜ぶ脚本が俺たちが全部ぶち壊してやるぜ。
Are you sure about that? Ooh. Oh, what? Oh, that's sick. The incident at the Forest Service Field office in Hinamizawa. Date of event, midday, June 25th, the 58th year of the Showa era. Location, Hinamizawa, Shishibone City, X-Comb, inside the Forest Service Field office. Summary, on June 25th, the suspect, Rigu Reina, broke into the Forest Service Field office in Hinamizawa. She forced her way into the classroom of the local school, housed within the office complex, and proceeded to take 25 people hostage. The suspect scattered a large quantity of gasoline and held the school hostage for over 7 hours. The situation remained in a deadlock for some time, but at this time, several hostages they fled the building. Same time, a special unit from the Osaka Police Department's 2nd Riot Division arrived on scene. 24 of the hostages were safely rescued. Reigning hostage fled to the roof, and after a brief pursuit, the suspect engaged him in close combat. At 9:10, she agreed to disarm and surrender. Bruh, that was like only 25 minutes. Okay, free the last hostage. Casualties 4, all minor injuries. Details below. Sonosaki Mio. She was captured until by the suspect at around noon that day. She escaped at 18:45 and was taken to safety. The suspect inflicted minor injuries on her during the fight. Furude Rika. She was captured by the suspect around noon that day. She escaped at 18:45 and was taken to safety. The suspect inflicted minor injuries on her during the fight. Hosho Satoko. She was captured at suspect around noon that day. She escaped at 18:45, taken to safety. She fell and suffered minor injuries during her escape. Keiichi Maibara. He was captured by the suspect around noon that day. He was released by the suspect at 19:10. He received minor injuries when he engaged in combat with the suspect. Regarding the arrest of Rigu Reina, she disarmed and surrendered to the police at 19:10 and was subsequently arrested. She was taken to the Okinomiya police station and questioned. She admitted to the outline given above. Minor injuries. Just minor injuries. There has been some dispute about the accountability of the suspect during the crime, but after subjecting her to psychiatric examination, the prosecution determined the suspect is fully accountable for her actions. The defense is in direct opposition to this and has submitted to their own psychiatric examination report denying the suspect's accountability. The trial is currently in session. That's a Phoenix Wright trial I'd like to play. Didn't Rina die when she was barely able to run anymore and had broken bones? I think she didn't have to try finishing the job. Well, that's why I said she went too far with the lead pipe. Where she like repeatedly smashed her and like over and over again. Keiichi has no idea what's gonna happen to Rika. Maybe it didn't happen to Rika this time. Maybe she didn't die. Because she was supposed to die that day by Rena's hand, but Keiichi saved her. There's one final tip, but it's quite lengthy. How lengthy do you mean? Like 2 hours? I'm reading all the tips. Higurashi when they cry. The scenario jump mode has been unlocked. The game features a scenario jump mode. You can replay any scenario you've completed before on the start menu. Yes. The tips reading room has been unlocked. You can now read the tips you've obtained so far. To view and select the extra from the title menu and then pick the read all tips option. The staff room has been unlocked. This is a thank you message for purchasing the game. To go there, select extra at the title screen menu and pick the staff room option. New tips acquired. The demon script. Oh. Maybe another 20 to 30 minutes. Wow, that's a long tip. We can do that. The curtain call. Overcome a tragedy. Achievement unlocked. We could always leave the tip for the start of chapter 7. No way. I'm finishing it all now. I got nowhere to be. Extra, extra! Viewing all the tips. Last night, the demon's script. The car began to rattle as the road turned from asphalt to gravel. The cry of the cicadas seeped through the tightly shut windows. Most people would open their car windows and let the natural air in alongside the sound of the cicadas. But people are also spoiled. He'd rather keep himself cool in the air conditioning turned to max than listen to the sounds of nature. Usually it was the rainy season at this time of year, but this June the summer had already come without any rain. Just like how the weather was on that day 20 years ago. Oh, yes! This is best boy! Akasaka! Here we go.
ええ、風光明媚ないい土地です。ひょっとしたら隣の村みたいに世界文化遺産に指定されることもあったかもしれないのに。
そのおかげで観光客がいない。実に快適じゃないか。どうして旅行者ってのは田舎じゃ交通法規を忘れられるんだ。道路いっぱいに横になりやがって。
赤坂先輩はアウトドア今も
The anime's first season ended at the Rena Keiichi rooftop scene. Wow. There's only 2 chapters left though.
最近はさっぱりだな。何しろ暇のない家業だからな。
それはお互い様です。おー、いたいた。早な。
The other man noticed and waved his hand before anyone in the car could honk the horn. The man was a young fellow on a motorcycle with a big backpack on his shoulders. Looked like he was ready to go camping. Is it Buffer Best Boy? Akasaka and his partner stepped out of the car and shook hands with the young man.
小隊長殿、ご無沙汰いたしております。
おう、今のとこはどうだ？元気にやってるか？今日は楽にしてくれていいぞ。こちらは俺が大学時代に大変お世話になった赤坂先輩だ。
Okay, I don't think it's Tomatake.
どうも、赤坂です。今日はもう一人、大石という者とご一緒するお約束でしたが、直前に検査入院が入ってしまいまして、同行できませんでした。
Next chapter in October, that's the plan.
この度はお世話になりますが、
really taking long breaks between their sentences.
よろしくお願いします。
さて、赤坂先輩、どこから回りますか？
His name was Mamoru Akasaka. He was a veteran detective from the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department. Despite the fact that he was close to his retirement, he hadn't lost his clear instinct and sharp eyes at all, so this is really far into the future. Those eyes showed the confidence he'd built through many risky experiences, and he had a well-built muscular body and a fearless aura. He must have fought against many violent criminals. His connection to Hinamizawa went back almost 30 years, all the way to 1978. Oh my gosh, his little daughter must be like 30 now. Almost. He was in the Public Safety Division from the Metropolitan Police Department. He came to Hinamizawa to investigate the kidnapping case of the grandson of Inukai, the then Minister of Construction. There, he met Uisi and Rika Furude. I didn't know when this was taking place timeline-wise. If this was like a continuation of what happened in Chapter 5, then Tomatake would have still been alive. There he met Uisi and Rika Furude. Rika Furude predicted her own death. Akasaka regretted for the rest of his life that he couldn't save the little girl from her fate. He saw the news of the great Hinamizawa disaster on TV and met up again with Uisi. They pledged to uncover the mystery of both of the cruel fate that fell upon the little girl and the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa. Unfortunately, Hinamizawa was sealed off for a long time. As a result, all Akasaka and Uisi could do for the past 20 years was publish the little information they'd gathered, and ask for their readers to send their tips and clues. Oh my gosh, is that the tips section? If so, that's kind of genius. But I don't know how that would work for some of the tips. He's like, yeah, that couldn't be for some of the tips. So it's like, yeah, everybody just send me the tips of what you know about this. It's like, I just sent one that was titled Child Abuse Statistics. It's like, that's a little weird. But recently, the seal on Hinamizawa had finally been lifted. However, they couldn't come to Hinamizawa until today due to Akasaka's busy work schedule and Uisi's poor health. In fact, Uisi was supposed to come with Akasaka, but he was called in for an emergency health checkup. Yeah, he'd be pretty old by now. The other two who came along were Akasaka's juniors from university. One worked on the ground SDF, and the other was his subordinate. They were assigned the mission of sealing off Hinamizawa, so they were quite knowledgeable about the village. Oh, so the explosion still happened then? I don't know if this still takes place in the same timeline as Chapter 3/4. Well, it can't be the same timeline as 3. If it's the same timeline as 4. That would be weird, though. And by the way, it's not an explosion that killed everybody. It was like toxic gas that leaked from the swamp that killed everybody. Akasaka took out a scrapbook from his bag. The corners of the scrapbook were all dented, making it look very old. Akasaka flipped through the pages, thought for a second, and let them know his first destination.
では、 鬼ヶ淵沼をお願いします。
了解いたしました。それではご案内いたします。
The young man got on his bike and waited for the others to get back to their car. They honked at each other to signal that they were ready, and the young man led the car to the swamp. Heading through the forest, they came to an open area where the ground was covered by concrete. There wasn't even a single drop of water in sight. All of the water in the swamp had been replaced by concrete. That was what Onikafuchi Swamp looked like now.
沼どころか水たまりもないな。
大災害後のだいぶ初期に埋め立てられたと聞いています。自分がここへ着任した時はすでに埋め立てられていました。
ちょっと降りてみよ
う。Akasaka got out of the car and walked to the center of the concrete-filled swamp. It wasn't a parking lot or a heliport. It was just a huge, empty concrete space right in the middle of the forest.
なるほど。
What?
これがネットでよく言う、
oh, yeah,
UFO の着陸場というやつか。
そんなことを言われてるんですか？
ここの写真がよくミステリー系のサイトに紹介されてるよ。ここで政府と宇宙人が交流してたって言うんだ。確かにこんな森の中にポカンとこんなコンクリートの空き地があれば不審に思うよな。
Volcanic gas erupted from this swamp in June of 1983. The deadly mixture of hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide engulfed and destroyed Hinamizawa in a single night. The village was sealed off and the SDF covered the swamp with concrete.
ネットで騒いでる連中にも連中なりの根拠があるらしい。地質学的に言ってガスの発生源を塞ぐために沼をコンクリートで固めるなんてのは何の。
なるほど。確かに活火山の火口をコンクリートで埋めたという話は聞かないですね。でもまあ、税金での無駄な工事は我が国の伝統ですから。
Lately, people who love things like supernatural phenomena and UFOs write on the internet about the Great Hinamizawa disaster. It's well known by now that the cause of the disaster was an eruption of deadly volcanic gas from a magma chamber. In 1986, a similar natural disaster occurred at the Lake Neos in Cameroon, Africa, so people easily believe that such a rare natural disaster could occur anywhere on Earth, and that is what was happened in Hinamizawa as well. However, a rumor about another possible explanation had begun to fly around on the internet recently. They say that the disaster was a cover-up by the government, and that it was actually a biochemical terrorist attack by aliens. Why had such a rumor begun to spread now? They claimed to back up their theory with a secret document known as File Number 34. Someone online named it File Number 34 for descriptive purposes, but the name spread and stuck since then because it sounded like a government conspiracy. People loved it. Oh, it's like Area 51. It's unknown how or from where they obtained those documents, but they posted scans and pictures, which were all ridiculous. Plus, more fake evidence was produced over time, so even the existence of such documents are in doubt. File number 34 deserves a bit more explanation. However, since it started on the internet, truths and lies were all mixed together, and it has become more like an urban legend. It's like a creepypasta. So this is what is believed to be mostly true. File number 34 was a notebook written by a nurse named Mio Takano, who worked at a local clinic in Hinamizawa. File number 34 was most likely named after her. This woman was a researcher who studied the demon myth of Hinamizawa and tried to solve what it meant. The contents of this notebook state that she prophesied the Great Hinamizawa disaster of 1983. According to her research, a UFO crash landed in Hinamizawa a long time ago and sunk into Onikafuji Swamp. The UFO carried parasitic bacteria from space, and they began to infect the locals. The infected villagers began to behave extremely violently, so much so that they were fit for the word demon. Mio Takano insisted that this was the explanation for the myth about demons pouring out of the swamp. An alien who survived the crash realized that the Earthlings had gone crazy because of the bacteria he brought in, and he decided to show himself to the villagers to help them out. This is how Oyoshiro-sama was born. The alien was able to cure the villagers with highly advanced technology, but couldn't eradicate the bacteria completely. Since the villagers looked up at the alien as some sort of deity, the alien utilized its status to hand down specific rules to the villagers in order to stabilize the disease. The bacteria took a liking to Hinamizawa's habitat, so when a carrier of the disease left Hinamizawa, their symptoms would reemerge. Therefore, the alien made it a rule not to leave the village. That leads to the legends of the transcendence of Onikafuchi. The weird practices and miracles of the villagers performed were realized by means of the advanced technology that they received from the alien.
そういうののマニアな人たちはつくづくそういうのが好きですよね。ノストラダムスの大予言だって99年にはあんなに騒いだのに、7月が過ぎたら何事もなかったかのようにみんな過ごしてる。民放もあれだけ煽っておいて無責任たらありゃしない。
でも高野美代はひなみ沢大災害を予見したらしい。それは嘘じゃない。確かにこのスクラップ帳に書いてある。
そんなまさか赤坂先輩、それ本当に？
As time passed, the bacteria stabilized in human bodies and became harmless. The alien and the bacteria began to fade away from people's minds. However, the alien has lived on for hundreds of years with the protection of the three families. It still lives on as the spirit of the deity in the secret temple of the Furaday Shrine. The alien manipulated the bacteria living inside the villagers and maintained control over them for hundreds of years. The alien wanted to regain its power and started researching how to bring back the lost powers of the bacteria, etc., etc. Things got much stranger from there. People say the disaster was actually part of the alien's plan to conquer the entire Earth by spreading the reawakened bacteria. The Japanese government has a secret division that fights against alien invasions. And they trained in Area 51 in the US, etc., etc. And they moved in to stop the invasion by sealing off the entire village, and they killed all of the residents using toxic gas.
映画でそんなのありましたね。なんて言ったっけな。
Fun fact, you vaguely remember crying when 2000 hit because everyone was screaming downstairs? Screaming in joy that the world didn't end in the year 2000? Not screaming in terror that the year 2000 was up and that the world was ending? Y2K was such a weird thing.
この辺まで来ると俺もそろそろめちゃくちゃだなとは思う。
If the government actually did kill all the
この
people
め
in
ちゃくちゃを書い
Himizawa
た
using
高
the
野美
toxic
代は
gas
昭和58
and
年の
blamed
6
it
月
on
中
the
旬
gas from the swamp,
正
will
体
you
不明の
please
開
let
始
me
を遂げ
talk
る。
for a bit, Akasaka? Stop taking so many pauses. Okay, if the volcanic gas from the swamp was actually just a cover-up that the government agents actually killed everyone, that would explain why Keiichi didn't die, because he was the one next to the toxic gas. Hmm.
そしてその死の直前に自らの死を悟ったかのように村の一人の少女にこのスクラップ帳を預けて意志を託したというんだ。
That girl is known as Girl A. Some guy who investigated the case was able to track it down to a girl named Reina Ryugu. So now it's known as the Reina Ryugu theory on the internet. Reina Ryugu inherited Mio Takano's will by means of the scrapbooks. She tried to fight against the planned invasion by holding a school hostage and demanding the local police uncover the aliens' plot. Of course, no one believed her, and they assumed she was in a state of paranoia. Back then, people assumed that Reina Ryugu took Mio Takano's delusions seriously and was motivated to commit a poorly executed crime. When she held the school hostage, Reina Ryugu told the local police that the alien was controlling the three families, and that it was plotting bioterrorism on a massive scale. And the very next day, the Great Hinamizawa disaster occurred.
まさかそりゃ偶然じゃないんで
Well,
すか。
so much for the happy ending. We still don't know anything about this, but this now means my one theory, the one thing that I thought of that could have possibly explained the disaster now is no longer a thing. My only explanation as to why the disaster happened in Chapter 3 and not in the other chapters was because Keiichi drove Teppei's motorcycle into the swamp and, like, the fumes in the exhaust mixed with it and released volcanic gas or whatever. But that apparently doesn't happen because Teppei's motorcycle didn't go into the swamp this time. So, well, screw me, I guess.
わからない。偶然ではないと思う連中に言わせると、その後の自衛隊による封鎖はおかしなことだらけらしい。
Oh, it's the same music. What's the point of having the two different BGMs? They're never different.
例えばこの沼の埋め立てが一例だ。そして埋め立てる前に明らかに通常の地質調査とは異なる秘密の調査を行っていたとされていて、当時ここの封鎖に関わっていた自衛隊員たちがそれを何人も証言している。否定派はそれを単にガスの発生地なので危険に備えて立ち入りを制限していただけだと主張するんだがね。
それは多分 否定派の言うのが正しいんじゃないかと思いますね。
他にも異常に長かった封鎖期間も疑惑の目が向けられている。近年に起こった離島の火山ガス災害の例を見ても分かるように、4、5年で立ち入り禁止を解いている。
Hang on, what if I have to go back and check? Writer of this is a bunch of old Mio Takano was mysteriously murdered in 1983. So they don't know that Takano faked her death. Hmm.
ひなみ沢のケースは例外中の例外のケースのはずなのに、封鎖は極めて長期に及んだ。
あのケースは島民が祈祷を強く希望したからと聞いています。南沢には帰る人がそもそもいないんだから、十分安全が確認できるまで
I love how
たっぷ
much
り期間を
smaller the
置いた
font
だ
is
け
in
な
this
ので
text
は。
box because they have so much more to say. Probably should have broken that up into 2 different text boxes then.
あとこんな話もあるぞ。ひなみ沢を封鎖していた自衛隊員たちは定期的に血を抜かれての厳密な検査を受けていたといい、何らかの結果によって自他ともに理解できない理由で任務を解かれることがあったという。それは実は細菌感染の陽性反応を見るもので、自衛隊員たちをとどまらせることによる何らかの人体実験だったとささやかれているらしい。
それはやはりガスが湧き出す危険性があっただけに、健康管理には気を使ったということでしょう。それに普通のサラリーマンだって年に一度は健康診断を受け、その時に血を抜かれてるはずです。
まあ君の言うことももっともだと思う。あともっと面白い話もあるぞ。南沢大災害時に火山ガスは発生していないと主張する連中がいる。
Yeah, just double checking this. Some believe they were using the members of the SDF as human test subjects. No, okay.
火山ガスは発生していない？どういう意味ですか？
つまりもともと火山ガスなんか噴出してなくて、ガス災害というのが政府の嘘であると主張しているらしい。ほら、洋画の人類と UFO がコンタクトする作品でも同じ設定だったじゃないか。
それこそミステリーマニアのこじつけだと思いますね。で、その連中は何を根拠に火山ガスが発生しなかったと言っているんです？
封鎖解除後、ミステリーマニアがドットを押し寄せて UFO 説を補強するためにいろいろ調べたらしい。で、連中の主張はこうだ。政府発表の火山ガス成分によるならば、硫化水素によって金属が腐食されたり、自然体系に大きなダメージが残るはずだ。にもかかわらず、ひなみ沢にはそういう痕跡が残っておらず、よって火山ガスが噴出したとは到底思えない。もっともあれから20年も放置された村なんだ。そんな痕跡を発見できたかどうかは疑わしいな。
やはりつくづくインターネットというのは信用できませんね。で、まさか赤坂先輩はその怪しげな話を信じてるわけですか？
You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
最初は信じなかったが、最近は俺もわからない。何割かは真実が含まれているかもしれないと思うようになっている。
赤坂先輩ともあろうお方が UFO 話を信じるんですか？
このスクラップ帳、これが本物の34号文書だとしたら、
Higurashi often refers to the When They Cry franchise as a series of battles between author and readers to solve the mystery, which sounds awesome. That's very interesting.
昭和58年6月25日にひなみ沢営林署に人質を取って籠城したひなみ沢大災害の混乱で長いこと行方不明だったが、近年大石さんの古い友人が県警の保存庫で発見したらしい。
Back then, Oishi thought Ren Arigu was delusional. But after reading this again after the Great Hinamizawa disaster, some of the content seemed to hold vital clues. It's not the alien part that he was interested in, but her theory that an endemic disease of parasitic microbes in Hinamizawa was responsible for the curse of Oyashiro-sama. Of course, there's no proof that such microbes existed, so it still remains at a theoretical level.
大石さんの仮説なんだが、御三家が過去の信仰心を村に取り戻すために、大昔の毒性の強い病原体を研究していたのは本当じゃないかって言うんだ。南沢大災害は、実はその結果の失敗じゃないかってな。
This theory is also based on the theories and myths he found on the internet. The village clinic's chief doctor died mysteriously right before the Great Hinamizawa disaster. Yeah! He apparently overdosed on sleeping pills, right? A girl, Rika Furude, was brutally murdered on the night Rei Naruyugu took the school hostage. She didn't tell anybody that that was going to happen. There could have been an underground research lab beneath the village clinic, and Dr. Erie could have been forced to do microbiological research, but he couldn't live with his own sins and committed suicide. Rika Furude could have been brutally murdered in a sacrifice for some sort of ritual ceremony in the name of Oyashiro-sama's revival. I think Takano was involved with that one, because again, she's like obsessed with Oyashiro-sama and the occult, and Rika's supposed to be like the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. And at least in chapter 3, Rika was murdered and like had her entrails like poured out, which is like the original Watanagashi festival, according to Takano. So yeah, that sounds However, their experiment went wrong. Instead of the microbes being parasitic in the villagers, they became a killer virus, and they exterminated the entire village in one night.
ただのガス災害じゃないことは明白なんだ。ガスが湧く直前に一人の少女が最近テロを予告し、数人の村人が開始を遂げている。それをスクラップ帳にまとめた高野美代本人も。
Did she fake her death but then actually died in the disaster?
あれを偶然の予見不可能な災害だとするには、
If so, maybe that's
腑に落ちない
karma.
要素が少なくない。この34号文章を読めば、それらは明らかにはっきりしてくる。
じゃあ、ひなみ沢大災害は自然災害ではなく、最近テロ。
Maybe. In the modern era, everyone in Japan knows about the shocking incident where a doomsday cult was created a nerve gas, sarin, and unleashed it for the purposes of mass murder. But in the 80s, the idea of a single cult being able to carry out such an act of terrorism didn't even cross our minds.
その後の自衛隊の長い封鎖は、その殺人ウイルスを調査するためではないかと囁かれているんだ
I haven't played
が、
Silent Hill.
すっきりしないな。
All that I really know about Silent Hill is that it reuses some of the Silent Hill, I think 2 remake, reuses some of the music from Piglet's Big Game. Not even joking.
UFO に乗った宇宙人がって話よりは、カルト集団がって方が近年は信憑性がありますからね。
本当に UFO が墜落した可能性もあるかもしれないな。竜宮レイナが人質籠城時に出した要求の筆頭は、鬼ヶ淵沼の底には墜落した UFO の残骸があるから引き上げろというものだったらしい。
If killing Rika was the cult's ultimate goal, why didn't they escape the disaster? Look, I don't really know anything about the disaster at all. That's still the single most confusing part about the entire game for me.
バカバカしい。
それがバカバカしいか調べたくても、見ろ。沼はコンクリートで数メートルの厚さで固められ、確かめる術もない。地質学的にはガスを防ぐ効果は何も期待できないはずのバカバカしい工事によってだ。
赤坂先輩がそれを立証するには、あとはここの住民の生き残りを見つけて、体内からその特殊な病原体ってやつを見つけ出すほかないんじゃないですか。
That was only actually, even if he was, he would be dead because he died shortly after the interview at the end of chapter 3.
それも致命的だ。ひなみ沢大災害後のひなみ沢出身者に対する魔女狩りのせいで、今や出身者の存在は不明だ。彼らは名乗りなどあげない。
Liz, if you have to sleep, please sleep. Right after the disaster, some people who are from Hinamizawa started displaying erratic behavior. When they started dying mysteriously and committing suicide in strange ways, people got scared of them and chased them out of their neighborhoods. The government was practically useless in protecting their privacy at the time. What a shocker, government being useless. So the former residents of Hinamizawa lied about where they were from and have kept it that way ever since.
じゃあお手上げじゃないですか。
それでも諦めないのが刑事魂ってもんだよ。あれが自然災害じゃなかったっていう状況証拠はいくらでもあるんだ。何か一つの具体的証拠が見つかれば芋づる式に全てを白日のもとにさらせるかもしれない。
まああれから20年経過してますからね。真相はあまりに遠い闇の中かもしれません。
そうだな。21世紀の今頃になってここを訪れても何も分かりはしないのかな。
What happened in Hinamizawa in June of 1983? The only factual evidence I had was that Mio Takano mysteriously died and left her scrapbook predicting a bioterrorist attack. A young girl took a school hostage to make people listen to this prediction, but no one took it seriously. The chief doctor of the village clinic committed suicide. People believed that the little girl, Rika Furude, was a reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama and she was brutally murdered. What was the truth behind this scrapbook? Was it written to reveal a huge conspiracy? Or was it just a bunch of delusions written by an occult maniac? If the contents of this scrapbook were true, the disaster could have been avoided if we had heeded the warnings of one girl. If they weren't true, then who created the disaster to follow the scenario of the scrapbook? After the sarin nerve gas incident, the words mind control came into the spotlight. In contrast to brainwashing, which can easily force a person to commit certain acts in the short term, mind control takes a long time to gradually make a person believe that what he or she must do is the right thing to do, and to act upon it as if it was his or her own idea. It's a form of character alteration, which is far more serious than brainwashing. The cult behind the sarin gas incident induced fear and anxiety into its members through its revelations of doomsday. At the same time, they ordered them to do certain things as a means of salvation, and had them do so voluntarily. The formula was quite similar to how Reina Ryugu became a puppet of file number 31. So, does that mean that Reina Ryugu was mind-controlled by someone? I'm telling you guys, demons! Does that mean that the cult that mind-controlled her tried to cause the end of the world in order to increase the credibility of their teachings, just like the other cult did? Would that make file number 34 some sort of religious textbook for them? When I lose my grip on what's true and what's not, it sometimes makes me feel that someone might be laughing in amusement at this disaster. The scrapbook was like a script. It was a script for a tragedy that takes the lives of thousands of villagers in one night. It was a script for demons who laugh at the loss of human life. Someone wrote the script. Someone performed it. Someone watched the show and laughed. Damn it! What the hell happened in Hinamizawa in June 1983? Indeed. Detective Tsumihoroboshi. Read all the tips in Tsumihoroboshi. Well, there we go. Well, folks, there's just one thing left to do. We gotta have another conversation with my boy Ryukushi07. Hello, my name is Ryukishi07, not Ryukushi. I hope you enjoyed playing Higurashi When They Cry, Ho, Chapter 6, Tsumihoroboshi. There are several themes I wanted to write in this chapter, but I'd like to talk about one of them here. It's about the denial of murder. This is something I had to write sooner or later, since this is a novel about serial murders. There are two means that youngsters in particular use these days to solve problems, which are murder and suicide. When we feel stress, we choose to either get rid of the source of the stress or to get away from it. Let's say you're bullied by a kid at school. You have two ways to solve the problem. You could choose to either get rid of the kid from your current environment, or to get away from the environment yourself. Usually bullies are stronger and have their underlings, so you don't stand a chance to get alone to get rid of them. It's also not easy to switch classes or to quit school, so you can't easily get away from the situation. As a result, the situation gets worse day by day, and your stress urges you to solve the problem immediately, and you come up with murder or suicide as easy solutions. If suicide is considered defeat, you'd want to consider murder. I feel like there are many people who think that way. However, if you'd actually committed a murder, it wouldn't be easy to pay for the sin. I believe murderers know that well too. But you really hate the bully who pushed you to the limit where you have no choice but to kill them. So with a determination that turns your entire life upside down, you commit murder. But if you had such a strong determination, there have to have been more ways to take than opting for murder, which should be the last resort. You can talk to your friends. If that doesn't work, you can talk to your family. If that doesn't work, you can talk to your teacher. If that doesn't work, then what? There have to be more ways. If you have the determination to give up on your life by committing murder, there have to be more ways. Our modern era is better than any era before it. There are many hotlines that you can call to talk to someone. Even if you don't have any friends or family, there are many places you can go for help. The people who will answer the phone aren't amateurs. They're volunteers, but they're also veterans who have worked as social workers or juvenile counselors for a long time, hopefully. I can assure you that they have more social experience and passion than your parents do. Can you guarantee that, though? People who work to help people for free can't be bad people. If you feel like you have no choice but to kill the bully or commit suicide, please try to call those hotlines. People who think it's useless to talk to others usually haven't really talked to anyone. Have the courage to call. There will be somebody you can completely rely on at the end of that line. Don't keep it to yourself. Talk to somebody. Is this a PSA or an inside on the author's reason for why he did what he did? Ryukishi07 wrote such a long story just to tell you this. He must be a very poor writer. So Ryukishi07 wants you to talk to you at all rather than worrying all by himself. How can I even write more entertaining stories? Bitter laugh. 07th expansion, Ryukishi07. Oh, that was way shorter than the previous one. That wasn't really here's the behind the scenes of what I was wanting to do. He's just like, PSA, if you're in trouble, call the suicide hotline. Which, like, okay, like, that's a good message, but seemed a little odd. Oh, and here we go. We got the final achievement. If we go here, and boom, colorful art. You've unlocked all achievements. 15 out of 15, 100%. Wow, 7.2% of people actually talked with Ryukishi himself and got that that message. All right, well, I guess that doesn't need to be its own separate episode. Oh, even that, it's gonna be like a 2-minute episode. Wow, that was an uncomfortable background. You'd hate being in there. It was pretty industrial, wasn't it? When you were bullied to hell and back, you told your mom, and she took you out of the school and homeschooled you for a whole year. I know, it's a good message. It's just, I was expecting, because in chapter 5, he had a much more in-depth, like here's kind of why I was writing the chapter. Here's kind of my thoughts on the chapter. Here's what I hope you take away from the chapter. And this one, he did that for like 20 seconds, then he's like, by the way, stop it. Get some help. Yeah, well, there we go. That was chapter 6 of Higurashi When They Cry. That is my favorite chapter up to this point. Yeah, that was really, really well done. I have very little in the way of like, man, like that was weird. There were some weird parts, obviously, but really remove the Hooters scene early on, and that would be an almost perfect chapter. That was super good. Thanks for joining in and chatting, everybody. It's always great to have an audience for these areas to hear other people's theories and to help and remind me of things that I've forgotten, which is really great. Yes, chapter 7 will hopefully be starting in October, so we'll take that during the Halloween time, and then I guess we'll finish the final chapter next year. So there we go. Yeah, thanks for joining, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless everyone.